Eyes up, Guardian.
And there you go. Mics are hot. So we got. So I think
Yay.
Breezy's. Okay, is it Breezy, or is it
Up sexy? I don't know.
Darius? Which?
I bet he's gonna want to go by Breezy, but I'm not sure. I'll have to ask him once he gets online.
Sounds good.
Yep, yep. Yep. So did you see the twab for the new Crucible game type?
Yeah, I have mixed feelings because they're not taking supers out. They're just saying you have to get kills to gain supers. I'm like,
Right.
I mean, it's a step in the right
Hey,
direction.
Nimbus. Thanks, Rose. Yeah, I think it'll be.
I'm not gonna lie. I'm gonna play it, and I'll try
Oh
it.
yeah, I am too.
It honestly though, it sounds like all they're doing really is they're limit. I mean, all they're doing, they're changing the way you acquire energy, but it sounds like it's more just a heavy-handed rumble thing, or not rumble.
It's control, heavy-handed
No,
control.
but it's oh god, what was the Nightmare Factory from D1 that didn't have radar?
Trials.
No. It was oh my god. Hang on.
Did I know Swiss Army cards are a thing? I think so. I think I've seen that. Hot mics for sure.
Inferno.
I don't think I ever really played that.
Oh, Jesus Christ, it was shotguns all the time.
Right.
Which is what I'm afraid this is gonna be.
It might be. I somewhat agree, and don't record this. I somewhat agree with what
It's
Dragon said on
recording.
my post. That it may be less of a shotgun fest than some people think, because the radar is still available. Oh no, radar is not available. No tracker.
Yeah, no
Okay.
tracker, but it's just yeah.
Yeah, that's gonna be a pain in the ass. Let's see here. Wallet Ninjas. Yeah, I have I bought my brother's one for
They're
Christmas
super
one year.
useful. I constantly forget that they're in my wallet until I go through TSA. So yeah.
Whoops.
Oh, that yeah. I mean, they like when I talk to them, they're like, "This is the most common thing that we see." They're like, "We have to take it," but they're like, "It's you don't like." I've never gotten, like I've never gotten them. I've gotten them taken away, but I've never gotten in trouble. They're always they're just like, "Yeah, give it to us."
You know what this is though? This momentum. It is literally reverse mayhem.
Yeah.
That's all it is. It's reverse mayhem.
I got all the lore triumphs on the, or not the lore triumphs. I got the lunar lore triumph. So
for listening to Tolan talk at you for
yeah, I'm trying to figure out. So I'm trying to figure out if that's indicative that that's all the ones that he has to say, because I got duplicates while I was doing them, and so I'm like, okay, but is it like if you do 20 of them, you're gonna hear all of them, or is it? Do you still have to keep doing them to get more? Because I got some interesting ones this last go around.
Yeah.
Like some really good ones.
I bet there's a lot more. I bet it's like the Dreaming City one where there's like maybe not 98 different ones like they found. I think it was something obscene like that, but I bet they have quite a few different little tidbits.
Shuro ones?
Mm-hmm.
There's 98 of them?
There's a fuck ton of them. Lowly Dev went through and capped most of them. And last time I counted, there was at least 30 or 40. But it may be not as big as 98, but there are a lot of them.
All right. Let's see if I can do the Darkness and Light quest while we're doing the podcast.
Which one's the Darkness and Light?
The fucking Malfeasance quest. It's the one with the goddamn Centurion at the end of it.
Some days I wish we had webcams so people can see the amount of disappointment on my face.
Listen, listen. I was looking at my I was looking at the calendar, right? I have 3
Uh-huh.
triumphs that I need for Chronicler. 2 of them
Uh-huh.
are the Malfeasant quest thing that supposedly you get in this particular quest.
Okay.
And then next Tuesday, I'll get my final Truth to Power.
Yeah, I've kind of honestly just semi sort of given up on getting all of it. I have Truth to Power finished, but I need the last bit of the eggs and the Ahamkara bones and the Shattered Throne run that goes along with that. And that's literally the only thing I have left, which I could go do at any point now. I just have been lazy and working on the Vex Undying Triumph instead. Yeah, blue carries a lot of knives.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's just a throwback to growing up on a ranch.
that's fair.
I mean, I don't. Yeah. I mean, they're all like they're all basic utility stuff. Like, I have a straight blade, a rigid blade. I mean, I have a multi tool that I have as well that I use a shit ton. Actually, I love how people are like multi blades are silly, or multi tools are silly. I'm like, no, only if you don't use them. Because
If you don't know how to use them.
I mean, you use them, and yeah, if you know how to use them, and if you need them, they are amazing. All
I
right.
used when I was starting to put together the Petra cosplay for this last year, I used the um, leather punch
Mm-hmm.
and
Leather.
did
I
some
love leather
actual.
punches.
Yeah. Most people don't know that's what that is, like, to actually leather punch through and
Mm-hmm.
sew 2 pieces of leather together. Most people just don't even know what that is.
Yeah,
So
we had to do them all the time for saddles.
mhm, makes sense. My wife's TV show
And
is very loud.
then I have a folding razor blade somewhere. Where'd it go? Yeah, the husky blade.
Hey, Breezy. Hello, hello, hello.
Testing.
Testing.
Hello.
Can you hear us?
Give me a moment. I cannot hear anyone.
Voice and what is it? Voice and whatever. Voice and video.
What's up?
Oh, I'm just trying to help him with his output on his thing. Alright. Live dashboard, TWAB. Do you see this stuff for Festival of the Lost?
Yeah. That auto rifle. Whew.
Mm-hmm.
And I get to
I
be a
like.
mother freaking transformer with the
What
ship.
do you? Oh, gotcha. I like how it's very much so Day of the Dead.
Yes, yes.
The whole thing this year. I like it. I think that's very nice.
Calm now.
Oh
This is
no?
the wrong weapon for this mission. I made a bad choice.
What? Oh no. Do you see the rest in peace tombstone emote?
Yes, it's hilarious. Slamming it into
The
the ground.
there is a possible the way it's worded in the article, it makes it seem like they're going to have their gamer tag flash across the
Oh my gosh,
tombstone.
that would be amazing.
Uh-huh, because the line says, "Make sure to let your crucible enemies remember it forever with their own personal tombstone." It's like, "Oh, oh no." Talk about the most disrespectful emote ever.
It would make me so happy.
Uh-huh.
I mean,
Worse
I
than the
have like
teabag.
I actually don't really I haven't found many of the emotes that I'm like a big fan of, but
Mhm.
they start doing stuff like that, I'm gonna probably find it hard to resist getting it. The It was the werewolf auto rifle.
One
Looks
moment.
nice. All right, Risk Runner is on.
Can you hear us now? Maybe, maybe not. Yeah.
All right, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Ah, jolly good.
Awesome. How's your day been?
Good. I hate these speakers. I can't get the output to come just to my headset, not my big speaker. Once more.
I don't know. I don't know what that would
Okay.
be.
Got it.
But
We're not getting any
yay.
audio feedback, are we?
No, not yet.
Nope, not yet.
Okay, good. Then I think I'm good.
Cool. So, Breezy, do you want to go by Breezy or do you want to go by the Twitter handle, the what was it? Upsexy or ups?
Nah, go ahead and call me Breezy.
Okay. I was like, would you like for me to call you sexy?
I mean,
Anyone can call me sexy. I'm okay with it, but Breezy is my nickname.
Okay. Works for me. The other thing was I don't know how often you've listened to the show, but we also do top 3. You're more than welcome to jump in and do that with us, or if you're like, "Hey, I just really wanna do the lore stuff," we can go and record the lore stuff. Blue and
I
I can do
have
top 3 if
not
you want.
listened, and I like top 3. I like the sound of that. What is our
Cool.
top 3 this time?
Top 3 Halloween treats or candies.
Ooh, nice. I was expecting something a little more Destiny related, but that's okay too.
Yeah, no, we actually it's kind of our get to know the host type show.
oh no, that was a mistake made.
Blue is also playing
I
the
thought
Malfeasance
it
Quest.
opened the door and it didn't open the door and it put me in an awkward position. I was like, "Oh no, you're still here. That's not good." There was a horde of enemies. Ah! Don't worry, I got out of it.
But yeah.
Carry on.
Top 3 is definitely a really relaxed kind of show that we do that it generally doesn't last too terribly long, and I kinda doubt this one's gonna last very long at all. Um, just because it's kinda a little bit of storytelling about, like, your past or anything like that, like why you chose those items or chose those lists, chose the things that are on your list, but after that, we do the intro session, then the advanced session. Guests are definitely welcome on the advanced session. If you are like, "I am too fucking tired and I wanna go to bed," by that point, you are more than welcome to do that as well.
All right. Think I'm going to be awake for a good 2 hours from here on,
Cool.
minimum.
Cool,
It's
cool.
Friday. We'll see how far I can get this night.
Yeah. Oh, we got a shout out from Guardians of Lore Blue.
Oh no. Was that a
Yeah.
good thing or a bad thing? Because last time we got a
That's
shout out, you
terrible.
got engaged in a GIF war.
It's not a gift war. Mrs. Hyven is listening to the sweet sounds of our voice, apparently.
I just got
Lulled to
launched off a
sleep.
cliff. Yep, I survived. All right, continue.
Let me know when you are ready, Blue. I think we're gonna do a local, or not a local, but the remote
The
recording on your
remote
end.
recording. Okay, cool.
Yes, please.
Yep, I can do that. Let me get this started there. And there you go. You recording is live.
Cool. Let me know when and if you need a drink or anything like that, Breezy. Or if not, I will start up that podcast.
Very well.
Here we go. Welcome to FFC Top 3, a show where we, your FFC hosts, count things down from 3 to number 1. Thank you, as always, for joining us this week. If you have a suggestion, literally just hit me up, tag me in them. I've had a few suggestions drop in our Discord server lately. They've been great. Actually, one of them, I believe, is tonight's topic, as well as on Twitter, or if you want to email us at focusfirechat@gmail.com. We will also get those emails because technology. This week, we are joined by our good friend, Mr. Breezy, and we're going to discuss our top 3 Halloween candies or treats. So last year we just talked about candies in general. No, last year at Halloween we talked costumes. This year we're talking about candy. I have Mr. Blue Crew 86 with me, Mr. Breezy, and myself. The way the show runs, as always, we're going to have the Blue Crew 86 go first this time, then Breezy, and we go our number threes. So Blue will do his number 3, then Breezy number 3, and then I will do my number 3, then 2, and so on and so forth. Blue, what is your number 3 Halloween treat?
I don't even remember what they're called. I literally just blanked on them. It's the bit of honeys. Bit of honeys. That's what they are.
Oh, gotcha. Like the chewy, taffy honey.
Yeah. I'm not a huge
type
sweet
thing.
tooth person, so oh no, I
Mhm.
just fell down. That's not good. So like candy is not usually my like I don't go for like the sweet tarts and all that stuff.
That's why I put treats on there. I thought
I
of you.
know. I was really tempted to do raisins and then celery
Celery.
and then asparagus, but I think that would
Do
be
you
a
think
little
we're
bit
going to
too
get
on the
asparagus
nose.
this year? Is that your prediction for?
Well, no, because we already had asparagus because we got Cade's,
Oh, right.
the one from Cade. But I really am hoping that we get peanut butter. No, I'm not gonna lie. I'm kind of holding out that they continue that joke.
I'd love that.
It
All
would make me
right, so
very
bit of
happy.
honeys. Is it just the chewiness type thing, or was it? Yeah.
Yeah, it's just like it's just that like I don't know. It's like a more of a savory type thing.
Mm-hmm. Nice. Definitely.
Hmm.
All right, Mr. Breezy, with your luscious tones, what is your number 3?
First I'm going to comment. I actually like asparagus if it's cooked right.
Oh my
I
god,
haven't had a stick of asparagus I haven't liked. They're
Oh
so
no,
good,
man! You cook it
especially
with
when my mom
honey.
makes them.
You cook it with honey. You grill it
Oh,
with honey. Oh man,
my man,
I
Honey?
mean, it
sounds
is like candy. It is like candy. If you
grill
Honey.
with honey. I'll have to pass it on to my mother and have her
Yeah,
try
so
it out.
like what my
Man.
wife does, like when my wife cooks, I've actually told her I can't eat asparagus at restaurants anymore because she's ruined me. Because she does such a good job. Like I'm not joking. It's so good. But what she'll do is you prepare it by just like snapping off and everything and cleaning it out. Put it in a skillet and just drizzle honey and a little bit of lemon juice over it, and then just basically saute them until they get like really kind of wobbly. And it's it's like eating candy.
I tend to like my asparagus a little bit more savory. We roast it with garlic and in like the oven and everything, and then we drizzle balsamic vinegar over the top of it, and that's just like east. But back to candies, Breezy.
Yes. So my number 3 for candies, I say they're this little rope-shaped candy called cowtails in the Midwest here in the United States. I'm not sure if anyone else has those, but they're a childhood favorite of mine. They're one of the first things. Those and Rolos were my first loves
Yeah.
on the candy front. Cowtails my number 3, and I actually discovered a few years ago that they have like 3 other flavors besides the standard that I was used to.
Nice.
And
Isn't it
there's
like
one that's actually caramel apple.
isn't it kind of a nougat type candy? I'm trying to remember what exactly is in a cowtail.
It's a chewy. I don't know how to describe it. It's a chewy rope with a kind of creamy center.
Okay.
So just imagine a long, elongated, cylindrical donut type thing, except the middle is filled, and it's much skinnier, of course. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
Delicious. I like
they're
it.
so delicious. That's my number
Yeah.
3.
Sweet. So my number 3 is actually not a candy at all, but something that my aunt would make whenever we got to the Halloween season, because she would always make a bunch of this for all the grandkids because she lived with my grandmother, and we had puppy chow. We had personalized bags of puppy chow that we would get from my aunt's slash grandmother's house. And puppy chow, just that classic, don't put peanut butter in it, just the classic chocolate and powdered sugar. Just as like terrible for the kids' teeth, terrible for parents later on in the evening if you let them eat it all. It was delicious. But that is absolutely just a little bit of crunch and that messy powdered sugar. Just happiness. Julie doesn't make Peppy Chow. I really need to actually convince her to make Peppy Chow.
Mental note.
Yes. All right, we're up to number 2 already. Blue, number 2 for you.
Let's see. So I did bit of honey. Let's go with Reese's peanut butter cups.
Good choice.
Again, just with that.
It's like, what else could be said about Reese's at this point?
I'm like, I don't really know if it even needs a defense, right? I mean, it's just, that's just the way it is.
Peanut butter and chocolate.
Peanut butter and chocolate.
They
it's
mastered
probably
the formula. What
it's
feels
probably
like
one of the very few times I will willingly eat chocolate.
That is actually one of my least favorite candies.
Listen, everyone is entitled to opinion.
Mm-hmm.
You're just wrong.
It's okay.
Even if they're wrong. Yeah, exactly.
You know, my wife agrees with that. Like, Julie agrees with you guys. She loves Reese's. That's her go-to. Like, she will, and she buys it specifically because she knows I won't eat it, and she'll put it in the freezer, and she'll do that really hockey puck hard frozen Reese's. But because it's peanut butter and it's salty, it has still a little bit of softness to it. Oh God, she loves it. But yeah,
I'm actually in the boat with Blue on the whole candy in general. I'm just not a super fan of sweets anymore. I mean, I'm going on 28. It goes to my gut now. I have to be a bit more mindful of how I eat.
But this is like the nostalgia of like childhood memories.
Exactly. And that's what Reese's does for me too, in part.
Nice. Well, what's your number 2, Breezy?
My number 2 is these I don't remember if they were a brand, but they were like these caramel apple suckers.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know what I'm talking about.
Yes, those things are
They
delicious.
came in the nice translucent green wrapper.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah,
actually my
I
number
only
2
ever
as
get
well.
them from my father's parents' house when we visit them. I haven't seen them in a store. I haven't eaten them from anywhere else except from my grandparents' cookie jar.
That's amazing.
And
that
I
it's
had
just, like,
one
hidden.
this past Monday for the first time in like a year.
You always have that problem though, because you like the caramel apple sucker is definitely my number 2 as well. Where when you're sucking on it, this caramel softens and then it sticks to the roof of your mouth.
It gets stuck, and you're like, what do I do?
And then it hurts. And if you have fillings, you have to be really careful. Good stuff, though. Definitely good stuff. I think you can buy them at Walmart, like in packages.
Yeah, I want to say that. Yeah, I want to say you can. We got them somewhere because we had them in the house the other day. They didn't last long.
Yeah, those are delicious. All right, Blue. Since we kind of doubled up on our number 2s between Breezy and I, we're already to number 1. So this is going to be a short episode. What's your number 1?
Oh, number 1. Man, I honestly don't know.
No?
I really don't. Like I mean, I'm actually not joking when I say that like candy is not like my big thing or treats or anything. Maybe maybe Reese's Pieces, like the Reese's Pieces stuff, because again, it's Reese's, it's that peanut butter and chocolate combination that's really good. Like I really like that.
Do you like salted caramel at all?
Sometimes, like I have to be in a really particular mood for it. Like it's weird. Like I actually don't really even like snack on stuff. Like I'll every now and then I'll get a craving for like pretzels or something, but it's like usually something salty and something crunchy, like potato chips or something, like sea salt and vinegar potato chips is usually what my go-to for snacks are.
Those aren't bad.
Yeah, well, and it's like you get them the kettle cooked ones, and it's just it's delicious. But that's not a Halloween thing.
I mean, it could be.
That would be a very interesting Halloween treat. I'm not gonna lie. Here, kid.
I mean, you
salt
have
and vinegar. It's like, what are you saying?
Is this a trick or a treat? It's both. Just enjoy it.
Yes. Just wait.
It's a better treat that is an acquired taste. When I had salt and vinegar Pringles for the first time, I was straight up disgusted. But I came to like them, interestingly enough.
We're just
Can't have
training
too
them.
many at once, but
Yeah.
no, salt and vinegar is good. I respect it wholly.
Yeah,
Oh man,
definitely.
it's so you can't eat too many of them though. It is definitely a
Yeah,
snack that will.
it goes
It's
in your
like a
tongue.
pineapple. It's like a pineapple. It will bite you back.
It slowly starts to hurt you as
Yeah.
you're eating it.
Yeah, I didn't know
totally
about
does.
that last time I ate a raw pineapple.
Oh,
And
yeah,
that was several
Yeah.
years ago. I lived in a different house. It was awesome.
Pineapple is one of those snacks that it snacks on you while you snack on it.
Yeah, exactly. It was fresh cut. We had the full one. I cut a slice that was like just shy of an inch thick, and I'm laying on the couch watching TV as I don't go hard at it, but I chow on it. And yeah, 15 minutes later, my tongue's feeling funny.
Oh no.
And then I'm just like, oh, bollocks, what did I do to myself? Just like the time I drank grape soda and then 15 seconds later jumped on the trampoline and wanted to die. And that's where I learned that carbonation actually hurts my chest with physical exercise, which is why I don't really drink soda anymore.
I think that would probably be a given for a lot of people, don't you think? Like any sort of carbonated drink and then you go and shake it up even more and you just the pressure build up. Oh,
Yes,
I just know
exactly.
that if you drink
good.
Diet Coke, don't eat Mentos.
Yeah. Or Coke in general, isn't it? Or is it just Diet Coke?
Diet Coke is more violent. It has a more violent reaction. I don't know why. I'm assuming I assume it's because of the whatever it is that it's the diet.
The chemical reaction.
Mm-hmm.
Don't know.
Yeah.
Diet piece. This is why diets are not good for you.
Yeah.
For the most part.
Yeah.
They can be.
Can't definitely if you're doing it right. All right, number 1 from you, Breezy.
I actually wrote down Reese's Peanut Butter Cups, but actually after ruminating, talking about Reese's Peanut Butter Cups, how Blue likes Reese's Pieces, I'm okay with Reese's Pieces. I prefer the texture of Reese's Fast Break. I think that's my favorite Reese's, other than
that's the
Peanut
new
Butter
one, right?
Cups and the occasional white chocolate. White chocolate Reese's is good, but have you seen the Peanut Butter Lover peanut butter cups that have extra peanut butter on top?
Yes,
Yeah,
oh my god.
that's a contender for number 1 besides the Fast Break. But I remember the first time I had a Fast Break and it was fluffy instead of, the Reese's Peanut Butter Cup I'd been used to all my life. Change of perspective, man. It was like seeing a new color, but on my tongue.
I've not tried this thing. I don't even know what this thing looks like. Does it actually look like a peanut butter cup, or does it look like a
It's a bar.
candy bar?
It's the bar. It's
about a quick size bar.
Okay.
A little bit shorter, a little bit taller and bigger, but shorter.
Okay.
Reese's Fast Breaks are really good. I highly recommend. Give one a shot if you come across them in Walmart or wherever you are. Nice. But yeah, you should be able to find them.
Cool.
Especially in America.
America for sure.
I've always wanted to go abroad and try candies in other countries. And
gosh.
Like my sister brought back some Japanese candy one time after she went like a decade and a half ago.
Mm-hmm.
There were these awesome chewy candies like Starburst, but with different dimensions.
Mm-hmm.
And they had like this little pearl in the middle that was like almost a juicy consistency to how it chewed. It was so good. It's the best chewy candy I've ever had in my life. And of course, I don't know what its name is. It's Japanese. But I wanted to get back. I wanted to find those so bad.
Nice.
Or soda from Great Britain is different. I had a green apple one flavor. It was really nice. Just like different feel in general. So you always get that, especially in European candies that I have tasted. Very different. Very interesting.
I've tried Japanese sodas, like the ones that have the marble at the top that you have to push through in order to actually open up the drink.
Yes, I've had those recently too.
Those are pretty good.
At the ramen shop.
Yeah. I don't even remember what they were called. A foreign exchange student brought it one day for like everybody to try at school.
But, a lot of that is also because of the way that we're required to have certain materials like sugar. Like the raw sugar and stuff. It's like
Sucrose
the
almost.
it's like Mexican Cokes as opposed to like the Coca-Cola here. Like there's a reason cane sugar tastes better, guys.
Yeah, exactly.
Speaking
Ramune.
of,
That's what it's called.
gotcha.
Ramune.
And that's
And yeah, you know the shape. The pearl that you take off the
gotcha.
cap, unscrew it, and you gotta punch the pearl down through the little bottleneck.
Yeah. It's like a challenge to get your drink because it's not easy to push through.
Yeah, it's
Just
fun. I
saying.
like it.
Yeah.
Tastes
But,
really good too.
yeah,
And the
it's
thing with the
actually really
carbonation
yummy.
is I actually open it and let it fizz out for a while, put it in the
Okay.
fridge, and it cools down, but it tastes nice and smooth once the carbonation has mostly bubbled itself out.
Hmm.
And that's how I do it.
Nice.
Cream soda is so much better in
Cream
that way.
sodas are delicious.
Yeah, I prefer cream soda. My mother's a Dr. Pepper drunkard.
Well, you know, you can't go wrong. You can't go wrong with Dr. Pepper.
She's literally addicted. She's tried so hard to get off it.
Oh,
Her doctor's like, it'll give you diabetes someday if you can't cut it back, and she just can't
no.
every day. It sucks, but
You know
that's
what you can
addiction.
do with a Dr. Pepper? This was actually my go-to growing up. You can get at Sonic a vanilla cream Dr. Pepper.
That's my mother's favorite. Second favorite.
Delicious. It's so good. It's like
It really is.
Dr. Pepper float without the ice cream. It's so good.
Yeah. She prefers vanilla editions whenever she can get them.
Mm-hmm.
But the single best Dr. Pepper she ever had was on the island of Kauai in northwestern Hawaii.
Oh, really?
We went there on a family trip years ago, and she still holds to this day that was the best cup of Dr. Pepper she's ever had. I don't even know what it was, man, but that Pacific magic.
I mean, you're relaxed. You have the nice temperate weather.
It probably had cane sugar, like actual fresh cane sugar too.
Maybe.
I wouldn't be surprised. They are an import center of things such as that.
Talk about imported drinks or imported things in general. My number one is actually a candy from Mexico. Where I grew up was really, really diverse as far as we were 60% Hispanic in the area I came from. So I was one of the minority in the Southwest Kansas region, and we went to trick or treat at my friend's house, and they would always hand out Mexican candy rather than just like the American stuff, just because they wanted to be more traditional. And so they would hand out Vero Mangos, which is a sucker that is in kind of a mango slice shape, and it's mango flavored sucker, but it's coated in chili powder.
It's so
you
good.
It is so good. Yeah, it's
I can never handle the hot stuff.
It's not super spicy. It's like spicy and salty, and then you get the sweet of the mango cutting through once you get through a little bit of the spice, and it kind of, oh man, my mouth's watering just thinking about it. 1 second.
Green's like, hang on, I gotta take a break.
Yeah, it's one of my
cigarettes.
Oh yeah, basically, it's one of my absolute favorite candies in general, and being able to grow up around people who had easy access to it. You can now buy it at Walmart in like certain regions, but when I was growing up, you couldn't. That was something they had to bring back from Mexico, so it was an extra special treat because they literally crossed the border with it, coming back from family and whatnot, and they were willing to share and give up that candy to you. It's like, oh, you were so, yes, thank you. Thank you very much. Yeah. Do you guys have any like also rans that didn't necessarily make your top 3, but are like things that you remember from childhood as far as your candies or treats from Halloween?
Whoppers.
Yeah.
Whoppers?
Whoppers are nice.
Just because
I prefer the texture of those, but
the texture was just like really unique with them.
Kind of chalky.
I don't know.
Talk about something that'll bite you though.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Like that thing they will get you.
Popcorn balls.
No.
No? Really? Really? Am I the only one?
Popcorn.
Really? Oh, we always made them because you do like the marshmallow.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, I'm not a huge fan of popcorn.
Really?
Like kettle corn though.
I loved them.
You put kettle corn in front of me. That stuff's gone.
See, you no, not kettle corn.
Sorry, that's
Nope.
the German heritage in me right there. Is that
I'm German too. That's the thing.
well, you know, again, not everyone can be right. It's okay.
Yeah. All
Like how
right.
you put that.
Yeah, it's fine. It's fine. I'm fine with it. All right.
Yeah, and I was actually just about to say, like I mentioned before, childhood favorite, Rolos. Nice little things, bigger than M&Ms, slightly bigger than peanut M&Ms, smaller than most other candies around that size, but they were just chocolate little discs with not like discs, but they're kind of like little plastic cups, you know, like the ones that are only like 3 inches tall. Imagine those dimensions, but chocolate and filled with caramel.
Ooh.
I love a caramel came out of those boys.
Man, okay.
Very good shizno.
I'm such a hard candy fan. So like the Brock cinnamon hard candies that are basically instead of peppermints, they're cinnamon candies. They're in that same shape, that little tiny puck or tiny donut type thing. Those were really good. I apparently like things that hurt you as you're enjoying them because cinnamon, chili powder, the apple suckers, puppy chow doesn't hurt you. Puppy chow's safe. But, you know, as you do. As you do. Well, unless you guys have anything else you want to add to your Halloween candy traditions.
Werther's Originals. Butterscotch.
Yeah.
Boom.
Yes.
Mic drop.
Yes.
We can go home now.
Talk about something you didn't realize was anywhere else but grandma's house growing up.
Oh, you want to talk about something that's nowhere else? It's those stupid strawberry candies. You guys remember those? Do you remember those?
When those things softened up into chewy
form, they were so delicious. But you want to talk about something that is like literally I have never seen other than my grandparents' house. That would be them.
Orgasm in my mouth. Practically, anyways.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Memories. Can't have it anymore.
Good
like you
memories.
said, you had to watch the figure at 28, 32, and how old are you, Blue? 43?
I don't know.
Okay.
Yes.
He's
I don't
not that
know
old.
my own age. Yeah, sounds about right.
He's fine. He's actually 33. I do the math for him.
It's one of those unimportant details.
Yep. But thank you guys for joining us for top 3. Let us know what your top 3 Halloween candies or treats were growing up or now currently if you have kids, things that you are buying at the store that you were semi going to share with students or kids or whatever is coming by your house. Just don't do what my coworker does, which he literally puts out an empty candy jar type thing or candy basket, hangs it on his fence with take one, and it's just empty. So the kids think that they just missed it.
That's amazing.
Rude, kind of a jerk.
That's amazing.
But it keeps the kids from coming to his front door. So it's like, all right. As you do. As you do. But thank you guys for joining us. Remember, everybody loves a list.
Amen.
And,
oh my God, Night. Okay, this.
All right. Before we switch over to the intro one, Amy has a question in chat. Would you rather be in a forest in the middle of the night where people have disappeared and has been Bigfoot sightings and you hear an inhuman howl and big footsteps coming close to you, or being inside a haunted house or a house haunted by demons? So basically, would you be in a forest with a possible Bigfoot coming at you, or would you rather be in a haunted house with demons?
Probably the forest with Bigfoot.
Same.
Science.
Because I know what to do in a forest. In a haunted house, it's just, well, have fun.
Do you ever play the board game House on Haunted Hill?
Yep.
Betrayal at House on the Hill?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that one.
Yeah, you know it.
It's a good game.
I gotta play that again. It's been like 2 years. It's sad.
Yeah. It's a good stuff.
Yeah, that's screwballs right there. It's like I'm used to being in woods, so
yeah. All right. So as far as introduction episode or the main episode, Breezy, we have I posted a link to the show notes if you want to kind of follow along in what we're going to be talking about and everything. Intro episode's pretty basic. We can get into some of the more in-depth details about the book, but it's fairly relaxed as far as like for new D2 players, or like what's going on, who are these people. It's a who's who type episode. And then afterwards we go right into an advanced episode and we talk about all the theories and stuff like that. So you get a little bit more in depth when we get there. Sound good?
Okay. I'm just loading up those notes now.
No worries. No worries. Blue,
Yes.
you are in charge.
Yes, I know. I found a corner.
Mhm.
Pins is handling the ogres right now.
Oh, Pins is running through with you?
Yeah, Pins always enables me. Don't you know this?
God, Pins, you are killing me, man. Man. Oh, Lord.
He's got one of them down.
Well, that's good. Make Pins
Oh
do
no,
all
the
the
thrall
work
found
for
me.
you.
Hang on. Ah!
He's unsupervised. Oh, God.
Hashtag pew pew chew chew.
Is he playing D&D? No, he's running through one of the hardest missions in Destiny.
Is it still the hardest or just one of the most annoying?
It's pretty annoying.
I
Is
mean,
it the
like-
Malfeasance or is it Thorn?
No, it is not Thorn, because F that noise. We did that, but no, that was absolutely a nightmare.
Thorn was bonkers.
It'll still 2-tap you in that freaking mission, even if you're 960.
What, the Centurion?
The Thrall will still 2-tap you in
Oh,
the Zavathun
with
song.
yeah,
With the burns and everything,
yeah,
because it
with
has blackout.
Yeah. Well, the thing that killed me with that one was the fact that I was playing without sound, so I couldn't hear the Thrall. And I was like, "Oh, hi, friend. You're there." All right, let's see.
Oh, Ikora, this could be a very bad idea.
With the Vex Gate?
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking at it right now. I've seen the extra crane with components leaning in. I'm excited and terrified.
Mm-hmm. It's supposed to be the big reveal for Undying Mind, right? That's what we go through to get to that.
I'm just really hoping
Yeah,
that
we're trying to
at the end
pin
of
down
the
Undying Mind
construction,
and kill him.
the first person that walks through it is the stranger, and it's like, seriously, you guys did this?
Yeah, and then she hands us her rifle again.
Mm-hmm.
I hope
I
she
want
actually
that
stays
rifle.
and talks a bit.
I just want it as it existed. I want the 3-ring holographic scope. Because we have like 3 copies of the Stranger's rifle now.
Mm-hmm.
We have the one from Curse of Osiris, and then we have the 2 new ones from this. No, there was or was it just 2? Because there's one covered in plants from Vex Invasions. So we have 2 copies of the Stranger's rifle.
Ah.
Yeah, one's actually kinetic, one's energy, so you can have 2 copies of the Stranger's rifle equipped now.
I did not realize that.
I just need a heavy one. Oh, the fate of all fools. Remember that?
Oh, God.
Mm-hmm.
Only the one person ever had it. Otherwise, it is spiritually succeeded by the Jade Rabbit.
Yeah, the Jade, speaking of that gun, fuck that gun in Crucible. Jesus Christ.
It's been a pretty good scout rifle for a while. It was doing good
Yeah.
work in the past season before scouts got their buff.
And
I've been
then
killed by Mida a good many times already,
Mhm.
which is good. I love Mida. I'm glad to see it back.
Thanks, Screwball.
you also have people who are working for Randy's throwing knife. I think
gotta get
Jade
on.
Rabbit and the Mida are, according to Reddit, it would be a little bit less today, but according to the Reddit post I saw the other day, if you get 10 kills a day with it, you'll make it by the end of the season. I
Nice.
suggest going a little harder than that and maybe getting 15 to 20 kills a day, so you're not kind of getting tied up at the very end.
Oh,
All
no.
right, Blue.
Okay, I'm gonna
Oh,
hide.
no.
Hang on.
Spiders selling.
I look up at my screen and all I see is Last Guardian standing, flashing across the top. I'm like, oh no.
Like, oh, no.
That is not a... Oh, he beat the ogre. That's why. Okay. I got you. Gotta jump through this portal, not get eaten by things. Okay. All right. Pull up the show intro notes. All right, here we go.
45 to 60 minutes.
Welcome to Focus Fire Chat, recorded live on October 25th, 2019, over on twitch.tv/FocusFireChat. As always, I want to give a big shout out to our live chat here with us tonight. Thank you so much for joining us once again. This week's episodes are going to be focused around exploring the Inquisition of the Damned lore book. This particular episode will serve as what we have come to call the intro session of the week's exploration. Before we go any further, however, let's run through a quick introduction of who all we have with us on the show. As always, this is your host, Blue Crew 86.
And this is the OSHA representative contacting Ikora Ray, telling her that her workers really need to put on some goggles.
Eye goggles.
Eye goggles. Just
No
put on
kidding.
some goggles. Like, there
Listen,
is so much wrong with
They
what's
have
going
been
on
doing
there.
that for 5 years now, and they are fine.
There's no like
They're not guardians.
tethers. Yeah, exactly. There's no
They can't be
tethers.
resurrected.
They're
There's
on-
no tethers.
like there's nothing holding them to these beams. They're on like I-beams out there. Like, I
No
got
safety
this.
harnesses.
Right?
Did,
Like,
did
there's
they
some
just rely on some Titan to skate down, grab them, and drop them off safely? Or a Warlock, better yet?
maybe. I don't know. It's just
Because we can
oh,
floof.
gosh.
Titans plummet after they break their falls for 2 seconds.
That's true. That's true. But no, this is Green-Eyed Music Lover telling Ikora that she needs to fix that.
And last
Let's
but
get on
definitely
that.
not least, in the hot seat as guest co-host, we have our good friend Admiral Breezy. Breezy, how are you doing?
I'm doing wonderfully talking to you, chaps.
Yes.
It's a good
Yeah.
night indeed.
Absolutely.
So, usual introductory question, where can we find you out on the internet?
First and foremost is my Twitter. My Twitter handle is @theupsexy, exactly as it sounds. THEUPSEXY. I made that a handle when I thought I was funny about a decade ago, and it's stayed ever since. Otherwise, you can find me actually on YouTube. I have a 7-subscriber YouTube channel that has no attention, but you can also find me on the Halo Collective YouTube channel. I contribute to content on there on occasion, so those are the best places to get in touch with me. And if you're a
Nice.
Halo fan, sorry to say, but we're kind of not doing stuff on that channel because we're waiting for Halo Infinite.
Right.
But we got a new
right.
project coming up soon, so we'll keep our gaming
Mm.
interests alive. Looking forward to
Nice.
that come December or so.
Perfect.
Speaking of that, is it super secret, or can you go into the new project that you guys are working on, or like tease it a little bit for us?
I don't know if there are any Halo Collective fans here. We have 4,000 subscribers, so I'm just gonna tease it. We're gonna be launching a general gaming channel come I think December, so that we can contribute games that aren't just Halo, because we're playing a lot of different stuff. Only one of our members actually plays Halo 5 consistently. I feel bad for the guy. I love him to death, but dude, Max, just let it go. Halo 5's dead. You don't need to reach max rank. It's okay.
But
okay,
you
I
do.
promise.
You do.
You got the Timmy helmet. Let it go.
Oh, okay. Well, if you got the... Okay, never mind. Yeah, you're good.
Yeah, it's like getting into Inheritor on Halo Reach and then going into Griffball and ruining everyone's day who's trying to get to Inheritor.
Mm-hmm.
Absolute douchebags.
Mm-hmm. Speaking
Anyways.
of absolute douchebags with Halo, Blue drags me in there to help
Hey, listen,
lower
Super
his
Fia...
rank so he has an easier. No, it's you and Ben. You and Ben drag me in there when it comes to ranking.
Oh,
because I
yeah,
am,
yeah.
level 6
Hey, listen.
in Halo.
If it works...
It's actually good to hear that other people play Halo still on the side. I got to get in there and do my 10 matches of Infection before October is up so I can get this Infection
yeah.
emblem or nameplate.
Yeah,
Nameplate.
the nameplate.
MCC.
Yeah, I need to finish doing that one.
Honestly, as soon as Reach drops on MCC and it comes to PC, oh, dude, I'm going to play Destiny a whole lot less.
Hey,
Reach on PC is what I live for right now.
I don't blame you. I don't blame you.
Reach
But
was my favorite.
Reach I want to say that ODST was my very first one, but then I played Reach after that. I went backwards.
Was a banger too in its own right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But I know Green has a lot of fun questions.
I'm actually going to kind of deter from the normal question. I want to know what your thoughts are since you're a Halo guy. What are your thoughts on the TWAB this week when it comes to the new game type coming out with the, what is it called? Not Mayhem. It's
Momentum.
Momentum control.
Where it's kind of like semi SWAT like is what it sounds like.
Weapons are powered up, so I'm betting snipers are going to body one-shot kills. And if so, I need to do that for my revoker.
Yeah. That would be
Got the
awesome.
headshots and medals. I just need to kill 250 people with snipers, and I just don't want to commit to sniping a Crucible.
You know, in certain game types, it's not too bad, especially if you're going into the non-competitive scene where you don't really see as many snipers or as many shotgunners for that matter. You see a lot of more people doing experimental loadouts. Those are the playlists to get into. Rumble's not too bad with it if you can get a good spot in the map before people will come and mark you. Yeah. How did you get into lore, Breezy? Like, what was your initial, was it Halo? Was it a different franchise? Was it Destiny? What was the hook for you to get interested in lore?
The hook. I want to say the hook was Halo.
Mm-hmm.
I've been a fan of Halo since 2010 when I actually played. I played Halo 1 on my friend's Xbox back in junior high a little bit, but I really got into it when a bunch of people in my 10th grade computer science class actually were able to Google the Halo trial and actually got the trial installed with Blood Gulch and the Silent Cartographer. So we were all just like 6, 7 people in class were secretly playing on Blood Gulch. And I had never really been a PC gamer, especially with shooters, so I started at the bottom of the roster.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I was playing Halo in 10th grade, and then my sister got an Xbox 360, and like December 31st, 2009 at like 10:30 at night, I actually signed up for the trial of Xbox Live Gold and started playing Halo 3 online. And then 2011, I got my first job, was able to buy my own Xbox and Live membership, and the rest is history.
Nice.
But yeah, the hook, Halo, definitely. Halo was interesting. It was nice knowing about like background stories that were going on. And then Mass Effect was a bit more engaging in its lore with the codex and just knowing about all the spatial relations before that had happened. And then it just soared into new heights when Destiny came out. The cryptic hidden lore in the background, the grimoire cards. And I didn't even get into YouTubers like Bife until like a year and a half ago.
Nice.
And just exceptional content. The story is so well executed, even though it's not perfect. Like grimoire cards, they could have put that in the game back in Destiny 1. That would have it would have been a little better to explain the lore more closely to the game engine itself. But of course, we all love debating Hive Apocrypha.
Of course.
Everything about the Vex, who were the other 3 members of Kaber's fire team before they were erased from existence. Because I'm betting they had a 6-man fire team, but we just don't know about them in the records because the Oracle's deleted. Control-Alt-Delete, remove Guardians, // kind of thing,
Do you think they'll actually ever reveal that? I mean, now that we're kind of getting back into the Vex and everything.
But it would be cool because we reclaimed Praedyth. He was just a name and a gun. We're like, who's this Praedyth? And then it actually comes out in Taken King. We remember the story mission. Ikora sends us back into the Vault of Glass because we're getting that signal, and we actually hear this dead Guardian's voice, and we recover him from like eternal deletion from the memories of everyone you loved, anyone else you could have cared about. Even his ghost was found. Future War Cult headers. You take it to Lakshmi. She's like, this ghost has headers I would have needed to sign off on. I've never heard of this Guardian. I've never seen this ghost. Well, that's because he was deleted and you wouldn't know any better. It's stuff like that the Vex are probably my second, I don't know if they're my favorite or second favorite topic of lore, but the Hive are just so freaking interesting with everything I've been reading lately. I have a newfound love for Hive, reading the Inquisition of the Damned, especially. So much fun, and I can't wait to talk about it more.
Oh yeah, for sure. And I bet this expansion itself, Shadowkeep and Season of the Undying, has just kind of been a bit of a heyday for you because you're getting all the stuff from the Hive.
I
We're
love
getting
Blackgarden too.
Oh yeah, and I actually really enjoy the Vex Offensive. I know
Me
it's not
too.
everybody's kind of cup of tea, but being able to go in there and see the plants and the same plants that you see in some of the different lost sectors, by the way. I don't know if anybody has picked up on that. There's a lost sector
I haven't
that
gotten
if
through the
I
lost sectors just yet.
oh
So
my gosh, Blue.
hey, look,
Pretty sure it's
I'm
a
getting there.
The
I'm getting
Luna
there.
ones?
slowly but surely. We'll get him
Mhm.
through. But yeah, definitely. Last question, kind of my go-to. What class is your primary class to play?
Warlock. I knew from the E3 debut at like 2013 for
Mhm.
Destiny that I'm like, yeah, Warlock seems like my cup of tea. Played
Mhm.
it first, loved it, but I have one of each and I love switching back and forth. I'm actually on my Hunter as we speak,
Nice.
working on her. But yeah, Warlock is definitely my main. Suits my personality. It just resonated from the first moment I saw it in action.
Nice. Is there a subclass you tend to gravitate towards more? Are you
I
Arc?
used to roll Well of Radiance, but since it's been kind of kaput with the changes to its Luna faction, I've
Mhm.
actually been running. I've run regular Dawnblade a fair amount. I most typically, I don't know. It's kind of a jumble.
Okay. That's fair enough. I mean, I think that Bungie recently has done a really good job of trying to incorporate other classes into the
Definitely.
gameplay a bit more this last season, especially because Arcstrider was dead for so many months. As far as a hunter goes, you really never saw too many people running it in Crucible or even um, unless they were running Liar's Handshake. But this
Yeah.
last season with Vex Offensive, there's actually the triumph. If you're going for the seal, you have to get so many arc supers and melees and grenades as well as void. So it's kind of bringing them out a little bit more, which is nice to see. Anyway, Blue, I'm going to toss it back to you in case we have any sort of special announcements.
No, just a general warning to everybody that as most people who listen to the show know, I mispronounce things. Apparently, I mispronounced Puget. I don't know. It's some Pacific Northwest thing. Screwball was kind enough to help correct me, though he was also gentle enough that he said that a lot of people mispronounce it. So but
Hmm.
just a general PSA if you've made it this far and haven't realized that I just mispronounce everything. I mispronounce everything, so
I think we
yeah.
all have things that are a little bit more challenging to mispronounce. What's the one that Dino always tries to correct us on in
I think
chat?
Namki, was that the one that you're
Yeah,
talking about? I'm pretty
Namchi.
sure it's Namchi, but don't tell him that.
I think,
But but no, so yeah, just a big thank you to Screwball. And then also we had someone who wrote in and let me know that one of our links on our website was pointed at the wrong episode, so thank you so much for that. And I try, but sometimes I do mess up, but yeah, so other than that, really I don't really actually have much. We can run through housekeeping notes, and then I will toss it actually back over to you, Green, if you want to kind of go through just a cocktail knowledge conversation on the Inquisition of the Damned.
I actually have a community question this week, Blue.
Oh, you do? Okay.
I do.
Never mind. We're going to do community question. Then we'll do housekeeping notes.
Yep. So it was kind of a last minute thing, and is more of a in light of Inquisition of the Damned and kind of what you see partway through the cards. I asked if there was a pit fight. This is more of a fun one. If there was a pit fight of major hive figures, who would come out on top? And I purposefully left out any of the major three. I left out Savathun, Xivu, and Oryx on purpose. And I listed Crota, Hashladoon, Omnigul, and Fogoth, which granted, they're not the most powerful. Obviously, Crota may be up there, and Crota ended up winning with 66%. No shocker there. Some of the responses were kind of amusing as far as people being like, Oryx. Oryx, 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 Oryx. Did I mention Oryx? So my kind of throw to you guys is if you could pick any hive to throw into a pit to fight each other, who would you think would come out on top? So I'm actually going to throw it to both you, Blue, and Breezy on your guys' thoughts on this for this week's question.
So what are the
Out of the
qualifiers?
ones mentioned?
Any major hive figure, who would you think would come out on top in a pit fight?
Not
And
including the royal family.
You can include the royal family if you would like. I would just like for you to defend it a little bit as far as who you think would actually come out on top. And a lot of the arguments that I saw on Twitter had to do with the tithing line and who has the most tithing, which obviously would mean they're the more powerful one. But what were your guys' thoughts on that matter?
How much time does Savathun have to prepare her plan? It all hangs on that, if you ask me.
That's fair. I mean, you think about Hashladun and what we're going to see in the book, and the sisters, Hashlatun, Bashurith, I can't even remember the other two at the moment, Kynox and Voyshire.
Yeah, there we go.
Think about those four and how they saw the uprising coming up. They were still able to kind of maneuver their way around it. So Savathun may need a bit of time. I don't know how wily that witch is. Blue, what do you think? Who do you think would be up on top?
Like, and this is a like straight up pit fight.
If you threw every hive major figure into a circular ring and they could fight in any way, shape, or form that they want to, who do you think would come out on top?
I mean, the obvious answer is Oryx, simply because history, has kind of proven that to be the case. I mean, Xivu in a pit and like in a fisticuffs pit fight, I think Xivu would be probably a close second, just simply because she's referred to as the god of war. And I mean,
her high court is everywhere she makes war.
Yeah, I mean,
and we have yet to see that in action. We know how Oryx conducted his battle in Taken King when he came, how he let people challenge him, how he let our 6-man fire team actually overtake him by his own logic, with some tweaking in the light, as Toland remarked, twisting the light against him instead of fighting him exactly in the sword logic way. But I want to see Xivu Arath more in person, and hopefully we can kill her in a raid someday. I'm not counting on seeing Savathun in a raid because she pretty much knows that she could lose to us directly if we challenged her, in a raid fashion. She knows how susceptible Oryx was. So trickery's been her tool, of course. The Dreaming City, Riven, the Taken Queen, she's basically become in his name. Oh, I'm scared of that woman. I hope something leads us to her, though. It'd be awesome. Like if the pyramid artifact actually ended up leading us to her ascendant realm.
Oh gosh.
Just as hey, this pleases us. Go take your war to the queen of trickery, And then she just like, oh, darkness, that's not cool. Why are you doing this to me?
Right?
Like, that's the only way I could see us actually getting close to her. Because otherwise, she's not going to give us a shot at it. There's no reason to. She wants to bring her brother back.
Yeah, I mean, that's true. Getting into the actual physicality in the pit fight, Savathun would probably not be very good in a fight, but if she was able to manipulate others into accomplishing her goals in any way, shape, or form, that's how she works. She works as a secondary character in some respects, that she will push somebody else to go do her bidding. Which brings me to a surprise contender in my mind. A character we haven't heard of since D1. If the character would function in very much so the same way that Savathun does, Teox might be somebody who could pull.
The mother, the traitor.
The qualifier is you said hive.
I did, and technically she's not part of the hive. She's part of the Osmium court.
Right. I mean,
But
and I think the other thing is too, like, that would assume that Tau or Teox or whoever is going to, because I mean, like you kind of are tying it back into the Inquisition. Like you see with the siblings of the Swarm with Malkanth and Akrazul and Azavath, the twisting of logic that they go through to undermine the daughters of Crota. And so I don't know. Like I still, I mean, like in a pit fight, I would argue that Oryx would be Oryx as we understood him prior to our severing of the tithing, tithing chain. Oryx would have done it because that was the entire point of the War Priest.
right.
The War Priest was there as a stopgap to only allow those who could defeat the War Priest to pass. And, and that was the whole thing. And so when we did that, that was all because we undermined the flow of tithing. But in a straight pit fight, it would be really, I think it would really come down to the three siblings, as it always has. And
Perhaps, but if Teox has been able to survive this whole time, and granted, she's not tied to the worms.
But she's also not a follower of the sword logic.
No, but does sword logic is not unique to necessarily the hive. Other races.
Well, no,
in
what
some
I mean,
respects
sorry,
are
what I
able
mean,
to form it.
Right. Sorry, what I mean is like, I just don't see her. I would see her actively resisting participation in a pit fight because that's not how she's going to defeat them. Like, she showed that with the Ammonites. She shared a knowledge and she shared information with the intent to allow them to do the fighting.
She functions like Zavathun, like
yeah,
a mother.
she fights by proxy. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I don't know. It's interesting. Good. Go for it.
Makes me wonder what Teox's physiology is like to live as long as she has.
If she's lived.
Yeah, and I mean, she's also been in a cryopod for a while too.
That's right. I'm very excited to see more of her in the future, hopefully. It'd be interesting if she was within our grasp and
Fingers
even was
crossed.
an ally, at least to fulfill some ends of survival. That's another way I could see a weakness for Savathun emerging, possibly, is through Teox actually being so desperate as to seek light bearers of the Traveler.
It would be definitely an interesting storyline to have to write or even perform or read, or whoever is actually going down that thought line.
Destiny 3 DLC, calling it.
That would be nice. All right, Blue. I think that should wrap up our kind of community discussion before we get into the main topic.
Cool. All right, so let's go through housekeeping notes, and then we'll go right back to Green. So your turn, Green.
I know. It is my turn. All right. So Inquisition of the Damned is a book that we received in Shadowkeep about, basically, it's a story about the Hidden Swarm in many respects, and the Daughters of Crota. So the Daughters of Crota and Omnigul, the nightmares that we're currently taking out every once in a while whenever those nightmare strikes come up. We have 4 of them named. We have Hashladun, who's the one we take out during the strike. We have Bishurith, who we take out during the when we get the cryptoglyph. We have Velshire and Kynox, and I don't believe we've actually faced those 2 yet. Correct me if I'm.
I don't have record of their deaths, and I've looked for them.
Neither do I.
Yeah, I don't remember seeing them yet, as far as us in game defeating them, which would be interesting. So that means we still have 2 at large at the moment. But it is the story of those 4 siblings, as well as kind of the children of the swarm. That is Malkanth, Akaz, okay, so Blue mentioned we are not going to pronounce things correctly. Hive names are jerky.
Much fun, though.
Yeah,
Akrazul.
And Azarath. Very and then Zulmak, and then we had the Congregation and the Swarm. So those are kind of the major characters. Malkanth, Akrazul, and Azarath are definitely more prominent in the book than Zulmak necessarily. Zulmak is kind of the catalyst in many respects to the current champion. But I am going to ask Breezy here, how would you describe this book to somebody who may not have ever known anything about the Hive? Like, if you're going to describe the Hive and this book in particular, how would you do it?
This book was very interesting to me. I actually only really read the whole thing this week, but I would describe it as, first I would like ask them, do you know anything about the pecking order, the totem pole of the Hive generally at all? Have you heard about, orcs, ties, yada yada? But this is basically a coup attempt to the Hive way of powering themselves up, essentially. That's how I would describe it. And these three siblings, the children of the Swarm, are trying to contend with the sword logic, which is the way that life is dying unless you fight it, and you fight everything else to get on top of that. And I've never thought of them looking for another solution to power or living eternally or in eternal places until I read this book, and I had such a blast with it. I can't wait to dig into it more. But yeah, short version, this is basically three people trying to stage a coup on the rest of the Hive.
And you mentioned sword logic. Do you want to give a shot at kind of describing what sword logic is as far as the importance of it in the Hive and how orcs and orcs in particular is a very big champion of it, and obviously all the Hive kind of follow this sword logic in general. But how would you describe sword logic to somebody?
Yeah, so imagine yourself as a human seeking a longer lifespan, and well, just as Oryx and his siblings did when they were Arash, Sathona, and Zivorath. Yes, they actually just outlived their 10-year lifespan as the Krill. They sought ancient machines from washed up ancient worlds because they had, 11 moons, 31 moons around their planet. They actually take a deep dive into their planet with this needle-like ship, and they found one great Leviathan under the ocean, far under the ocean, that warned them to turn away. But at the core, surprisingly, they find pretty much dragons, not like mythical European dragons because they're shapeshifters, but these things allowed them, it kind of rewarded them for their seeking. And just imagine that you're going to take the advice of these wise ancient things to feed a parasite that will make you stronger as you feed it, and you have to stack up on the feeding pretty much eternally or it'll consume you. Kind of sounds satanic and devious as all heck, but it's a way to, also there was a revenge element. Arash and her siblings sought to kill a traitor in their family, essentially, and they were willing to do anything. Their commitment to their revenge, what they considered justice and true, was what led them down this path, and their worm covenant with these worms gave them the stepping stool to become something far, far greater, and they certainly have. The sword logic is that covenant manifest. The only way to feed your worm and grow and not die is to kill. And it's found in nature. They describe it beautifully. It's found in nature. All living things die. The death is the order of the universe. To face that down, you can't just be a simple organic creature, carbon, hydrogen, all these other things. To be something more, you have to embrace something more. And these worms, I believe they were actually Ahamkara, these dragons that grant wishes, were they were the source of this worm covenant. And yeah, sounds like a great way, but again, they were committed to the cause.
Right. And the thing to keep in mind with the this whole the worm god, worm pact, and everything like that. I wish we would have more clarification on whether or not they were quote unquote wish dragons or Ahamkara type creatures or related to them. We haven't gotten that yet. I don't believe, and so
Bife seems to think so.
I know Bife is
Sorry,
Bife. Yeah,
chat's
it's
giving me
okay.
grief because of a mispronunciation I made a long time ago. I referred to them as the work gods.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and so we're
Well,
talking
they
in
do
chat.
work, like,
We're
really
talking
hard,
in
so-
chat.
That's true.
The work gods, demonic Avon marketing plan. No pink car involved.
You know what, though? I mean, kind of a pyramid scheme. It's not too far off of how the tithing system works,
Destiny adds new meaning to the term pyramid scheme.
right?
Oh,
Right?
oh
The
my
creepiest
gosh.
scheme in the
Sorry,
history of
I
any-
wasn't laughing at the Bife comment. I was laughing at
No,
dancing
you're good.
and dissolute and screwball in chat.
To continue on a little bit, the three sisters, Zyro, Arash, and Zathona, they take on a new identity. They take on their new selves after the worm pact, right? They're taking on um
a new gender in Arash's case,
right.
because
And
they're all addressed as sisters, and then
right.
Arash became Oryx, and then was addressed as a him as Taken King when Oryx, as we knew him, emerges. Anyways,
Zivu Arath would also technically
Not
transformed.
Not necessarily. We don't know if knights are male or female.
Considering
Mhm.
male? Okay.
I don't because we have I don't think there's ever been
Clarification.
Like most of the name knights that we do have are male, but there are a few knights that the gender it's just not clear. It's not that to say yes or no, but I have noticed that with the knights in particular, there does seem to be some disparity. And yeah, and Dancing Veru is making the call out too that Zivu was continued to be referred to as she.
Okay. Good to know.
But yeah, I actually thought the same thing. But then when I was looking back over a couple of the other Ascendant Hive named figures, the ones that we do know are knights, they actually if they are not called out, a lot of them are not called out. And so it's like, and there's really, I would actually defer to, I think it's Dark Angel who did the dive into Hive etymology. As far as the naming conventions for male female naming convention structures.
Nice. She does some really great work. NASA scientist too, if I remember correctly.
Yes.
But we talked about sword logic, and we are talking about the coup that takes place in this book. What do they ever actually, I'm trying to remember if they describe what their logic is. Or is it mainly that they're striving to not, is it the logic of the swarm? Are they striving to not be a part of the sword logic? What are we considering this to be?
So you're talking about Malakanth, the deceiver. They are actually seeking to undermine the understanding of sword logic. They
But
actually
do they ever name it?
No.
Prove a lie.
They're trying to prove that sword logic is not all that there is. They aren't trying to prove a logic, they're trying to disprove sword logic. And they are trying to do that in order to quote unquote free the swarm from it's basically, I'm going to get so much flack for doing this, but it's basically
is what the Inquisition means too.
Right.
The word Inquisition is a reassessing essentially, or questioning.
It's like
unlike the Spanish Inquisition, which was one, unexpected, and two,
it was always unexpected. No one expects the Spanish Inquisition. Ding!
Nobody expects the
Inquisition.
Inquisition.
Oh my gosh. Love that skit.
Okay. I had to get that out of my system.
But the other thing too is that it is kind of a manifesto against the oligarchy of the royal family, if you will. Because that's actually where Malkanth and her sister and brother actually derive a lot of their hatred, or direct most of their hatred is towards the congregation and the sisters of, or the daughters of Crota. If you I think it's like the first couple books, it's like they are very, very much against the established royal family of Crota and Oryx, which is what makes which makes the ending a little bit also really interesting for me. But yeah, I never took it as they're trying to establish a new logic. They're trying to disprove the existing slavery to the sword logic, because they see it as a form of it kind of feels like they see it as a form of enslavement, which it kind of is.
I mean, they're enslaved to the worms, and on top of it too.
Well, and
in
because
some
of the
respects,
tithing,
with the
because of
tithing
the
scene.
because of the tithing lines, the way that they're established, there's really no. I mean, it's basically a low named in a mid level, or a mid level marketing scheme. It's a pyramid scheme. It's basically someone at the bottom of the pyramid going, "Hang on a second," and they're fighting against the system.
And they're already trapped.
It's Rage Against the Machine, but in hive form.
That would be the best.
They already have the death metal.
Ever.
They already have the death metal.
I know. That's what I'm saying.
Killing in the name of.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes. I cannot wait till we get to those.
Someone
cards.
needs to get Grindhead Jim on this stat.
Right. Okay, so we have the first couple of cards. We have the idea of breaking free of this sword logic, breaking free of the logic that we're the hive are kind of locked into, and the plan coming together. Then they move into kind of, if I remember correctly, it goes to the sisters, and then it kind of goes back to the Malkanth and all of them, and the weird experiment that they do slash Frankensteining that happens.
Yeah, and I have a couple interesting comments to make when we get there too, because there's a, I don't know, I see that there is there's an interesting parallel in the quote unquote abomination that Malkanth creates, and the quote unquote abominable science that Nokris is exiled for.
The death science, whatnot.
Well, it's just, to me, what I mean by that is that it's an interesting degree of hypocrisy, because the same thing that Nokris is getting in trouble for, the siblings were notorious for testing. Well, the same thing that Malkanth is referring to as forbidden is arguably what Savathun and even the worm gods did by creating an unmaking.
Okay. So, summarizing the book a little bit, we have Malkanth, Akrazul, Azarath, upset, frustrated, fighting, trying to figure out a different way out of the sword logic loop that they're stuck in. Then you see some of the sisters, Hashladun, Besharith, the Shire, and Kynox. Also, you see a mention of them also questioning or having reason to doubt the logic. Then we get to the character Zulmak, which is the champion of the pit. So the Hidden Swarm is just this massive hive, and they are pit fighting right now essentially to gain more power. And Zulmak is the champion and the one that they think that can actually do it as far as gaining the lead, essentially. You proven by might of arms in the pit itself. And we see his fight, or their fight. I'm pretty sure it's he's considered a male in this. Then we see Malkanth, Akrazul, and Azarath go into the idea of changing, doing the unmaking themselves. And then we get to my favorite part, talking about the song.
Mine too.
Right?
So cool.
Jinx.
So, right?
I was practically like squirming in my seat at how awesome it was, and I was terrified too, but we'll get to that.
Yeah, terrifying and amazing, and interesting implications tied from this book to also a book that's being slowly revealed to us. All sorts of
Eris's
good
book,
stuff. The Unveiling, the Book of the Unveiling.
right?
So, yeah, so the Song of Life, we learn kind of sort of more about the history of the Death Song and how that works through that. And towards the end, we kind of see the result of the coup or the terrible
Climax.
yeah, just everything falls apart and the sisters Hashladun, Bashireth, Bashire, and Kynox basically
Take advantage.
they just yeah, as you do when you are devious I would call them witchy women, but it's a little bit too on the head.
And
Yeah,
it does them good credit too.
it
I love
does.
watching their scheme unfold.
Right?
And is it weird that I was actually kind of rooting for these guys?
Really? The rooting for Malkanth or rooting for Hashladun and them?
Malkanth, the one staging the coup, the ones trying to change things up. I'm just thinking, do this, pull this off. I want to see how you guys do this. I want to see what kind of challenges you bring to us in the next
Mhm.
raid.
Man, that would be interesting because the whole experiment slash weird ritual that happens to put is it Azaranth and Akrazul or is it
Mhm.
Akrazul and Asheranth? I can't remember which one's inside of which other.
Oh,
It's
which one?
basically
Yeah.
Neither do
reverse
I.
Russian dolls. You're
I
putting
want to
them
say
inside of each other.
Azeroth was put
Yeah.
into Akrazul.
Yeah.
Azavath is unmade, and Akrazul is embedded inside of Azavath. Azavath was
Which
the fledgling death singer, and Akrazul was actually a piece of collateral damage from the Taken War. His name, the Severed Knight, was actually because one of the Guardians cut off his arm.
okay. Anyway, I don't have too much else when it comes to like doing a super introduction of this because everything else I want to talk about is going to be way more in depth. Do we have anything else that we would want to talk about to give people a background knowledge of what's going on in this book if they have no former knowledge? Because we've talked about the siblings, we talked about like Oryx and Zavathun and Zivu and sword logic. We've talked about Crota's daughters, a little bit about the actual story in the book. Is there anything we want to do to kind of
A
wrap
little
this
bit
guy up?
more on the chain of command for
Yeah, sure.
the sword logic. I think it's good to note, excuse me, I can English, I promise. Good to note that the way the hive grow is by killing one another typically or feeding on tribute. Basically, it's organic like consumption of protein, things that make you grow in muscle mass and all that. And, you can't just put on the weight. You have to exercise so that it's muscle. They do that by feasting typically upon light and other interesting energy sources that sustain them. And they also get that strength of their worm feeding by contending with one another. They claw over the tops of each other to grow. It's what Oryx did. It's what Crota did to become as great as he was. And eventually, if you become great enough, your power can extend into a realm separate from typical physical reality, where if you die in it, in our world, as Crota was vanquished once upon a time, he had an ascendant realm to fall back to that you can't reach with a starship or conventional means. So we passed through the keyhole into his realm deep beneath the hellmouth of the moon, and we contended with him according to the sword logic in his own domain, somewhere where his complete soul was vulnerable to destruction, which is what happened in the second raid of Destiny 1, Crota's End. So basically, I think I covered most of that pretty well. You guys have anything to add to the sword logic chain in general?
Not to the sword logic change. The other thing that was noticeable to me was the the repeated reference to as above, so below.
It's backwards.
Is it or as below,
it's
so
as
above?
below, so above,
Right.
which I
As
find
above and below.
incredibly interesting.
Right. Do you think that would be something to discuss here, or do you think we should do that in the advanced episode?
I think we should talk about it more in an advanced episode because it has to do with the concept of, gosh dang it, now
sacred geometry and hermeticism, mostly.
Hermeticism, just the idea of having something being focused on in one location would affect the larger scale is what it normally is, kind of thing.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I was just going to say, because I know that was a rather large component of the structure, especially. So,
especially after the first 4 or 5 books, where it just intros each of the main players of the coup and their ramblings, what they detest, and as above, as below. Basic version is the as above is the people up in the Scarlet Keep, the Barad-dûr-looking tower from Lord of the Rings, and that's where Hashladun is, and she kind of looks down in condescension on the pit and those who are below her. And we can, delve into the advanced, but that's what I took it as on the base level in my first read through.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
Literal elevation.
Yeah, for sure. Blue.
All right. So let's do a quick round of shout outs for the intros, and then we'll get into the advanced session. So Breezy, what shout outs do you have for us for the intro session?
Like Destiny community or anyone?
Anyone.
I don't think I'd be here in this position today if it weren't for the Halo Collective YouTube channel that got me into, doing content within the community, especially on YouTube. And I'm grateful to them for also being good friends. They're the only Facebook chat bubble I'm consistently on with throughout the day. They're pretty much my closest friends. And shout outs to the Halo Collective for them. Go subscribe to them on YouTube if you can, because we could use a little bit of boost for our subscriber count. And keep an eye out for our general gaming channel in December. We're definitely looking forward to seeing how that launches. But all my thanks to them, and of course the inspiration of getting into lore itself. I'm actually delving more into lore because of people like My Name is Bife, Bearded Grizzly, our resident lore masters in this Destiny community. Thanks to all the artists and content creators who also helped me be inspired to do art. I'm working on art on my laptop like every day now before I get on my work shift. I've had a hard time committing to art projects, and this year is the first year I've actually gotten a big art project done because everything else just fell through. So those are my shout outs. Halo Collective on Twitter at Halo_Collective, and all of our partners and friends there, and of course on YouTube.
Cool.
Awesome. Green, what about you?
My shout out is mainly a big thank you to you, Breezy, for coming on with us and for being really just an awesome, knowledgeable guest. It's really nice to be able to have somebody who can talk as in depth about it, which we're gonna see in the advanced episode. Absolutely, for sure. I'm just excited to have you on here. So thank you for joining us on this podcast.
I'm very grateful to be on here, and thank you very much.
Yeah. Blue.
I think you kind of covered it. So, as usual, goodbye. All right, hang on. I gotta survive this onslaught of stupid wizards.
Also, now is a good time to take any sort of drink or potty break before we start the next one.
Cool.
So I'm gonna go do that myself.
Oh my god, wizards.
I don't know why I'm progressing my hunter. I wanna actually wipe my hunter and start over so I can do the new light mission and change her appearance, because I've had 2 humans and a awoken since I started D1. I've never had an exo.
Oh my gosh. Okay, sorry. This wizard was just
A bitch.
Yeah, this thing was not being friendly. Okay.
I don't like wizards. I dislike ogres more, but I don't like wizards.
God,
Their spicy hand blasts can go to hell.
Mm-hmm. Well, especially like it's one thing if it's a normal wizard, but oh my god, we just knocked him off the level. Please do not come back at a random spot. Okay, you came back where you're supposed to. Okay. Ha ha! I am completely out of ammo. Pins. No, Veru, you have no understanding. That wizard, oh my god.
Came from the moon.
Oh my
That wizard
god.
came from the moon.
God, that
No.
Taken
Let's
is
try to be fun.
ridiculous.
That wizard came from the moon.
Ah, la 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 la. So, oh man, you ready for this part? This is
That
the
actually makes sense, Dancing, because they are it's the female equivalent. I've always been confused why we refer to them as wizards and not witches. Sorry, Veru
What
was
component?
saying Veru was saying in chat that
Wizards in Destiny are witches in the
witches in the
German
German.
version.
Mm-hmm.
In German, they're called witches.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, cool.
Very cool. All right, Blue.
Hey, mission
I
complete.
did water.
Yay, you
lubrication
did
for my
it.
throat as well.
Yeah. So
Better
this one,
have for this public event.
this one is gonna be definitely a bit more in depth. All the theories, going into kind of the cards a little bit. Are we planning on going into all the cards, Blue? Because I know you took notes on all of them.
We don't have to.
Are we gonna kind of summarize some of them
I
maybe a little
think some
bit?
of them, like the first, like what is it? The first three are kind of easy to be grouped. Or the first four. Yeah, the first
Yeah.
four, which is like the big like verses of whatever.
Of tattered
And,
blood and broken bone.
and then
What
there's
is it?
another collection.
Pew, pew!
And then like
Choo,
basically
choo!
audience ritualistic. The two blood sports and sinister plot. I mean, that's kind of those three can probably be put together. I mean, actually, most of the ones after tattered blood and broken bone,
Pew pew!
those are
Choo,
just
choo!
from Zolnak's perspective.
Mm-hmm.
Which is interesting just because it kind of shows what the rest of the swarm does. And then what are the unmaking?
Pew pew! Choo choo!
I'm
Pens is
actually
unsupervised. Pens just gift subbed 10 people.
Jesus.
Thank you, Pens.
he's just happy that
Okay.
we don't have to
I'll
fight
be
that
back in a
Centurion
minute.
Hashtag! Pew pew! Choo choo!
Thank you.
Well, so like the thing that kept screwing us up is, when you get the Centurion down to like the last third or whatever the break point of, I can't remember if it's a quarter or a third.
Pew pew!
But as soon as you cross that last break, that random wizard just spawns out in the hover, like out hovering. It was like, oh my god! It kept like just that thing just kept destroying us.
Pew,
So
pew!
finally we got
Choo,
that thing down, and then
choo!
it was just back to wearing down Numbskull.
Numbskull?
That's the blight
Hashtag!
that I use.
Pew pew! Choo choo!
Okay.
Darkness in the light. Gotta go talk to the drifter.
Hashtag! Pew pew! Choo choo!
Whenever you're ready for the advanced episode, I am ready as well.
I think Breezy said he had to run out
Hashtag!
to take some or something.
Pew pew!
Take
Choo
care of
choo!
something.
Like a puppy or something. Oh my goodness.
Hashtag! Pew pew! Choo choo!
Cause thank you. Oh man. So ow. Ow, 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 ow. All the ouch.
Pins!
What are you doing? Are you drinking? I know Aaron's not home. Are you drinking? You're grounded.
You're
I'm
grounded.
gonna
I
ground
can't
you from
believe what I'm
Colorado.
seeing. This is amazing.
Good God. Good God. Good sir.
He's refilling his health bar.
Yeah, I know. He's gonna be in a lot of trouble with Erin whenever she gets back from her trip. Oh man. Good gracious ends.
Yep. Pin's Halo used recover.
Love you too, Pens.
Thanks, Pens.
Mm-hmm.
And I have a bit problem. You should say,
A
and
bit?
I have
You have a bit of a bit problem?
a bit of a bit.
Just a bit.
Whoa! When did this turn into intervention?
It turned into intervention once Penn started, well, taking advantage of the fact that Aaron isn't home. Although
Yeah.
I don't think Aaron stops him ever anyway, so it's fine. You do you. Ah, no, go away.
Oh, did you read the funny thing about doing a finisher on a scream?
Oh, about how it stands up?
It stands up and looks at you.
Yeah. That is terrifying to me, by the way. Like, that is
It should
probably
be
the most, like, bleh, no. Pins. I do think about it twice when she's around. Oh, God. Oh, nope, 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 nope. By the way, fuck fanatics. And what are they freaking called? The stupid harpy ones from Volta Glass that are in the Vex offensive.
Oh yeah, those guys are
Jerks. Utter jerks.
Returned I have.
Returned you have, yes.
Yes.
All right. All right, all right, all right. Like how the moon doesn't have any red legion.
Oh, that's nice, isn't it? No drop pods. I
Mm-hmm.
haven't died to the elements.
There's still more sets.
When did
though.
they add the ability to see your fire team on the map? That's really cool.
A while ago.
I'm watching Pins run around. Oh, he's talking to Rahul right now.
A million deaths are not enough for Master Raoul.
God.
That was the best.
I want them to do something funny with him again, as far as like, I know last year we had the death of Ives during this last what was it?
Festival.
Mm-hmm. It'd be interesting to see another kind of development of this is what happened to this character. They're also dead. It's not a murder though. We killed him. Like, and it's fine. Like, who would you want to go on the chopping block? If you could put any character on the chopping block for D2, who would you want on it?
Tess Everest, so that we can get Fenchurch one of these days.
That's fair.
Yeah. Not really. I'm okay with Tess. I do want to see another Everest in the future, and I want them to go to the farm so that the farm's relevant again.
Yeah.
They don't deck it out for any freaking seasonal events. They don't do anything with it, and it's sad.
I mean, I can kind of understand because that would be a lot of time devoted to doing another decoration type thing.
Yeah, and besides, the tower's supposed to be the hub
Right.
for everything. Putting Eververse in the selector is a good thing.
Yeah, I think so too.
But I think they could get some benefit out of making the farm a little bit viable again.
Probably.
I
mean, we had
it
the
worked with
0
the
hour.
Iron Temple at Fellwinter Peak, didn't it?
Oh. Blue, 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 blue.
Yes. Are you good?
Mm-hmm.
Glub, glub. Glub, glub, Charlie.
Glub glub.
Glub, glub.
Oh,
Anyway.
Charlie.
We're going to Candy Mountain, Charlie.
Candy Mountain, Candy Mountain.
No.
With sweet, sugary goodness. I love mimicking those psychos.
Mm-hmm.
Same with llamas with hats. Carl, that kills people.
I don't know that one.
Llamas with
with
hats?
hats
Oh
is-
my god.
It's like PG-13 Charlie the Unicorn.
Yeah.
Okay.
Darker, weirder, but very funny. Give it a look. See the entire thing. They're like minute and a half long videos each. Someone put them all together in like an 18-minute video. It's fun. Go give that a listen and you'll see what I mean.
For
Like
sure.
5 episodes in, you'll be like, okay, this is
It's like if it's, I mean, Big Mouth is way dirtier. Big Mouth is like Charlie turned up to 11.
Yeah, I've heard about Big Mouth, and I don't want to watch it.
It's actually pretty funny.
I bet.
Disturbing at times, but pretty funny.
Yeah. Like cutting open the pillow.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, my friend told me about that. I'm like, yeah, I have no desire to watch a show on that alone.
All right, you guys good?
Yep.
All right. Welcome to Focus Fire Chat, recorded live on October 25th, 2019, over on twitch.tv/FocusFireChat, as we continue our discussion over the Inquisition of the Damned lore book. This particular episode will serve as what we have come to call the advanced session of the week's exploration. Congratulations to those who signed up for a deeper dive. Before we go any further, however, let's run through a quick introduction of who all we have with us on the show. As always, this is your host, Blue Crew 86.
And this is the most offensive, vex-offensive fighter, green-eyed music lover.
And it's your boy Breezy.
Yeah. Yeah. I
That's
like
how I
it.
end my
I
Twitch
like it.
streams.
It's your
Or
boy
I start them,
Breezy.
actually.
Nice. I like it.
Me too.
But, well, enough with our chatter. I know everyone has actually been looking forward to getting into this because I think we're going to actually go through kind of similar to what we did last week, but a little bit more summarization, I think. But we'll go right through that. So let's just, let's get right into it. Green, I know, and Breezy, I know we kind of chatted a little bit before we started recording about, and real quick, as we have started to do more of these lore entries, you'll probably notice Lost Lore has kind of taken a back seat most of the time because really the Lost Lore has been spread throughout the entries and the little trivia factoids that are dropped in there. So I feel like that's a little bit more appropriate way to deliver the Lost Lore as throughout the episode rather than trying to concentrate it all up in front and then have you guys remember it, 30 minutes down the road when we're talking about that particular thing. But that being said, I think, we talked a little bit about, maybe looking at a way of kind of summarizing the entries. So for those who have not read all of them, I think there are, how many are there? There's quite a few, if I remember right. There's 4.
Yeah. As far as
15,
like pulling them.
I think 15
Yeah.
entries. Sorry, I had to do a real quick count. But the first 4, I think, would be the easiest to kind of group together. And this is really where we see the introduction of Malkanth, Akrazul, and Azavath, who I've kind of come to call like the siblings of the Swarm. And there's not really, we don't ever really get a descriptive title given to those 3. So that's what I just kind of, to differentiate them from the Daughters of Crota, which are also going to be mentioned, especially like in the first one, because Malkanth is really kind of the driving force of these 3 individuals in their, what it quickly becomes evident as a coup against the oligarchy, if you will, of the Hidden Swarm. Green, I don't know if there's anything that I missed on that.
Mm-mm. I think we're good.
So, like I said, the 1.1 of Tattered Blood and Broken Bone is Malkanth's presentation of the siblings' dispute against the Daughters of Crota. They call out the last king of the Osmium court, which was the father of the siblings of Oryx, Savathun, and Xivu Arath before they became Hive, and actually kind of the source of everything that led to the Hive's creation. And then the second one of Tattered Blood and Broken Bone is Akrazul's presentation of the siblings. So it's their perspective. Akrazul is the severed knight. He is the brother to the two sisters of Malkanth and Azarath. Wow. Blah, 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 blah. So he is a knight, whereas the other two are wizards, it seems. Terms of note here were Inquisitor and Understandings. And I like the Understandings. I am really interested in hoping that we get more on these, because it's almost like a layman's version of the Books of Sorrow. It's kind of how I kind of took it.
It's just like an unofficial guide instead of the Books of Sorrow being the Oryx dictated one, or the truth of the deep type thing with Oryx and his brood. Maybe something that is lesser on that, or
I kind of took it as like the Vulgate version, like in terms of like religious texts, it would be like a Vulgate or something, something that's more common than the high speech of the Hive, that is the Book of Sorrow. It would be something that's more, I don't know if approachable would be the right word, but more accessible to the general population of the Hive masses. That's how I kind of took it. I'm not sure if that's actually what it is, but that's just, like I said, that's just how I kind of took it. You have the note of Inquisitor. It's called out as, I am not an Inquisitor, but so you got another kind of role within the Hive hierarchy there, possibly. But yeah, that's really the only ones there. And then we get to Azavath. Is it Azavath or Azarath? I think I typed it. I think I put a typo there. It's Azavath. Azavath's Eager Embrace is the third one. And so this is, again, presentation of their view of the dispute against the daughters of Crota. Not really any big terms of note in that one that I saw. And then once we get the three presentations, we go back to Malkanth's, and this is what's referred to as Malkanth's Deadly Promise. So this is where they basically say, let us reap the just affliction of our suffering's reward. And so this is where they don't really do the same oath, but it's kind of a parallel throwback to the oath that Aurochs and Savathun and Xivu all did on the mast of the ship before they dove and found the worm gods, is kind of what I kind of took it there. I don't know if you guys had anything particularly that you wanted to throw in on there.
As far as the siblings here, their whole oath that they're taking is not in my opinion, it's not as devout, I guess. It doesn't seem to be as
it's more anger,
sanctified. Yeah, it's more of, I vow I'm going to reap revenge type thing, rather than I make this pact and kind of seal it with blood type thing.
It's a I'd say it's a commitment to themselves in secret.
Yeah, I can get behind that.
Subterfuge of government. You don't discuss it online with people. That's the kind of thing you meet in a dark park behind a shady bush.
It's Fight
in
Club.
Cloaks and hoods with daggers.
They're
declaring what they hope is going to be a success for future generations to follow, so that they don't fall for the foolishness of sword logic. A thing that is just sealing the doom for the future, as Malkanth states in his declaration, his blasphemous desire kind of thing. He just wants to. I lost my thought on that. He wants to secure a future because he believes the sword logic cannot give it to the Hive. He has seen Crota fall, and then his grand descendant father even died after him. It's like
Right.
there's nothing securing our future in this. So he wants a better future, as pretty much all living things do.
What I find interesting, and I know we're going to get into this a little bit as we get a little further into the cards, but you have the opposite mentality where they don't believe that the sword logic has failed. And it wasn't this grouping of the sisters, it was the daughters of Crota, where they don't necessarily believe it's failed. They kind of doubt it still, but there's still a sanction or a group that believes that Oryx's by the Guardians defeating him is still appearing to the sword logic in general, because in some respects he is still out there and able to continue his fight towards the final shape.
Right. And they also make and I think that's getting into, I believe, Audience with Slaughter. You start seeing the idea that the Daughters of Crota are actually looking to find out if it's possible to resurrect Crota, or not Crota, resurrect Oryx in the same way that Oryx.
Him.
Yes, by defining him. And actually, with that, there was so I've been running around collecting all the quotes from Toland, and one of the ones that actually popped up actually mentioned something along those lines. And let me pull it up real quick because I just thought about this. So basically, he says that new voices reverberate through the lunar former carry, heresies whispered in the dark. Below your feet, the hidden swarm are acquainting themselves with deeper magics beyond their reckoning, to say nothing of ours. And so this is where you kind of see with the idea that the Daughters of Crota are they have started playing with this idea of, what would it take to get Oryx defined? What would it take to bring back the greatest of their species, if you will, and how could they manipulate these new powers that they have?
Yep. So moving on from there, we get into kind of Zulmak's story, right? Are we still?
Yes, Zulmak he's a major figure who is a minor figure he's a major figure in this story, minor figure in the overall arc.
He's still a pretty minor figure in this. He's
I think
kind of a means to an end.
I was just about to say that. Yeah, he's just a means to an end, really.
He is the pit fighter. He is if you're following along in the book and everything, you're kind of seeing that in ritualistic circle pit, right? So 3, is that where we're at?
I believe
skipping
that
ahead
5. I think it's the 5th entry technically. Because there were the 4 and the blah, 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 6. No.
Audience with Slaughter.
Audience with Slaughter, and then ritualistic circle pit is 6th.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry,
So,
I got that flipped in my head.
You're good. So the ritualistic circle pit is kind of the story of Zulmak and his battle to prove himself the strongest of the hidden swarm, or prove himself the strongest up there, and by doing so kind of earning the right to lead in a respect. And since the great Osmian King's End, countless champions have been scattered to the winds in search of sword logic's promised rewards. Immeasurable pain and measurable suffering. We kind of just continue to see him try his might. He's kind of the poster kid in many respects for those betting on the pit. You can almost think of it like the Roman gladiatorial matches. He is the gladiator that is going through and proving himself through all these different challenges, thrall, and just the amount of thrall, essentially the mindless nothings with chittering jaws and razor talons. Just he's kinda getting the snot beat out of him in a lot of respects, but he's proven himself. This is the card where he kind of proved himself and he rises and he's going to become a target. And he knows that because as soon as you rise up in ranks in the hive, you also become a target within the hive because somebody else is going to prove themselves stronger by taking you out.
Mhm.
But Zolmax stands above the challengers in the pit while daughters and the congregation look on. Slaughter begins. Blue, you had a note for 11th Truth, the 11th Truth here. Is there something you want to bring up? Or
No, it was just, again, it was like another call out for something of note for me was like, hey, so there's a new book in the Hive Arcana that I'm just noting in the same way that we got kind of teased about the Books of Sorrow back with Thorn. To me, this seems like it's another possible tease, if you will.
there's a lot of things in this book that also relate back to shadows, perhaps.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Do we, as far as like Zolmek's story, there's not a whole lot besides the fact that he is rising as a champion and the sisters are looking down upon him as, hey, you might be our savior in some respects. You might be able to prove to break free of the sword logic in some respects, or you might be the one that we need to take out to prove that you don't have to be part of the sword logic.
Mm-hmm. And I think the other thing about Zolmak is the level of contempt that the daughters of Crota have towards him, because
So,
they call it out as he is no prince, he is no king.
these are the cards that actually mention so below as above. I know we wanted to talk about this more in depth. Can we dive into that now?
Yeah, definitely.
Yes.
Do you want to talk about that, or you want me to kind of lay out the?
Go ahead and lay it out, and Breezy, if you got stuff that you want to lay out, just feel free to jump in at any point on these kind of
All right.
things.
You guys are covering it pretty good so far. I think I'm good listening for the moment, but yeah, let's move up into it.
Sure.
So the idea really stems from what's actually referred to in reality, or well, in our world at least, as of a term called "as above, so below." And this is a phrase that actually derives from a work that is attributed to an individual named Hermes Trismegistus, or one of the original, if you will, divinology, tarot card-esque people, also big on alchemy. And this is a work that was called the Emerald Tablet. And it's basically the message, or if you will, was basically kind of based off the Lord's Prayer in that time, which is, and it goes, "Our Father in heaven, reveal who you are, set the world right, do what's best, as above, so below." And what it's meaning here is that there is a parallel between the heavenly realms of existence and the physical realms of existence that we exist in. So it's again, it's just one of those connections between the realms of existence, the realms of being, and that was a really big thing for the mystics at that time. So it's just interesting when you see it here, because the ones that we see here are actually not as above, so below, but rather as below, so above. Which is an intriguing little twist. And I don't know, Green, if you wanted to kind of take over and talk about your thoughts on why that was such a little curious little thing.
So Blue mentioned the ties to kind of the religious, the Lord's Prayer type thing, but there's also you see this very often taking place in the Hermetic beliefs, the occult in some respects, and the idea that whatever is happening below, if you can create something on a small scale, you can affect things on a large scale. So, with it being flipped on its head here, we actually see almost a reverse happen where you have you have the things happening above, the turmoil and everything above also happening down below, and in many ways in a very similar fight. You have the conflict of Zulmek and his internal conflict of proving himself and everything like that, and then you have the as above, you had the conflict between the sisters and the coup going on. So it's a reverse of the typical. If you were to quote unquote cast a spell or to create a ritual or something like that, you do something on a very small scale. The most not necessarily pulp culture, but most easily recognizable aspect is to have a hoodoo doll. And in the hoodoo doll, you have like the little person's essence or whatever attached to it or christened to it, and then you poke it or burn it or whatever, and that's supposedly going to happen to the other person. That's the hermetic belief of the as above, so below. It's the reverse of it. It's the as below, so below above. So you're creating that on the small scale to affect something on a larger scale. And you're getting that here through the hive. So a call out to not only a religious concept, but also kind of the occult like concept or the mystical concept of the hive being called out here again, which is kind of nice. It's just an interesting twist on it to see it in such a simplified yet unique way. Anybody else have something to throw in on that one?
It's very interesting how this lore is really founded in a lot of principles of a wide array of religious beliefs that we can find in our realm.
Mm-hmm.
I am Christian, and the whole talk of light and darkness thing actually is one of the things that allured me to Destiny as I played through it. Excuse me, in the first couple years of its existence. And it's kind of like a benefit to my own soul to feel stronger just thinking of my guardian and how their lives grown stronger, going through challenges in life and just equating them to conquering a raid and how insurmountable King's Fall seemed when it dropped, and just just strengthening yourself. So as a Christian, I've enjoyed that, and that's also a human concept. You don't need religion for that too.
Mm-hmm.
And also, I like to equate that the as above, so below. It feels like the typical way of approaching that was above kind of trickling down to below, like you want heavenly concepts in yourself as a mortal, which is below heaven and unworthy of it,
Mm-hmm.
twisting that on its head and seeing that you can, take your quote unquote lower or lesser state or lot in life and translate that into a higher plane, make your will upon the universe manifest, which is actually that's what Sivorath declared to the Leviathan before defying it, was that if this is the way life is to be, I will beat life into submission. Life will find a way, to paraphrase the immortal Jeff Goldblum. And I like how that's presented in the lore and you guys talking about as above, so below, and the relations to that made me think of that. So
For sure. For sure.
very fun
Blue,
way to look at all this stuff.
you ready to move on to the ritualistic? Or I guess it'd be Bloodsport next, right?
Mhm.
So we have Bloodsport and a Sinister Past. So Bloodsport is kind of a continuation to Zulmak's story. Zulmak falls to the pressing wave of attackers. The daughters, disappointed, retire from spectacle, seeing nothing of worth in the Bloodsport below. So you have Hashladoon and Bashurith, Kynox, and why do I never remember this one's name? Voshire.
Oh yeah,
You
yeah.
have
Sorry.
them watching on, and they're disappointed because Zulmek falls, and that was the
Or appears to fall.
appears to fall. You had the champion kind of fall down, and they're starting to question the validity of the sword logic or the logic that they've been essentially raised to believe. And so the sisters leave, and you see that in a sinister plot where you see the sisters, those sisters, the daughters of Crota, leave in disgust, but we see it through a different perspective. We see it through the siblings of Malkanth and Asherath and as Akrazul, we see them off to the side. And so they're kind of making their plotting and whatnot off to the side a little bit of what they're going to do about it. From there, is there anything you guys want to talk about in Sinister Plot before we go on to Bloodsport?
No,
Okay.
I think that was. I mean, like I said, my main interest is actually in the semi to last cards, because I'm curious to hear your guys' thoughts on some of the events there.
Okay. So, the going on to Bloodsport. You have Zulmak is essentially has failed. Congregation is foolhardy. Zulmak spins. Why am I got turned around? Okay, so Akrazul's Lament and Azavant's Pride. Mainly just kind of a call out of their preparation for their quote unquote sacrifice for this ritual for their joining, which is incredibly disturbing because
Mm-hmm.
it's there's not a non-graphic way to say it that I can think of. Like Russian dolls is about as nice as a way I can say it.
I would, yeah. It's a dark form of surgery. It's a dark
It's splicing.
yeah,
I
it's
was
I was
thinking they're
like I'm
like
trying
devil splicers
yeah,
from the
it's
fallen.
like oh
It's like
man.
an alien got shoved inside of another alien, like or like
It's
the
it's
person
the
who's
it's the
infected
hive
with alien.
it's the
Yeah.
hive equivalent of a turducken.
Oh God. Now that's never going to leave my head blue.
You're welcome.
I always thought this surgical procedure was interesting because I never thought that they kind of don't understand their own anatomy very well, which is something generally kind of relatively trivial to humans because we've spent so much time operating on ourselves and each other, and just like, wow, they're taking a very brute force method to
Well,
this, driving stakes through his wrists and ankles to pin him down as they just cut him open. And
but
like,
that's
yeah,
But
life
that's
is
the
not
thing
pain.
is,
I
but
know
the thing
that.
too is that it's not just a physical surgery. It's a metaphysical, a
Yeah.
spiritual level dissection as well. And the other thing
right.
is too is that it's also done through the song.
So on top of that, this card right here, Severed and the Unmade, is the spiritual preparation that they're doing. They are doing a self-reflection. Um they are giving up their own selves into this situation, this ritual, and the spikes through the arms that you're talking about, that's not uncommon in the Hidden Swarm. If you look back at the Grimoire cards back in D1 at the imagery for the Hidden Swarm, and even just go to the moon back on D1,
Mm-hmm.
the Hive have often lots of spikes and impalements.
Spikes.
Yeah, I mean,
See, I
it's
never noticed
super
that.
it's super, super common for them to actually do, self-mutilation,
Mm-hmm.
or it's rather mutilation. It may not be self-mutilation, maybe somebody else inflicting it on help. I don't know if
Well,
they
but
were
also, I mean,
proving themselves or
another one to look at too, right, is Thorn. Like, look at the
Mm,
weapon Thorn. I mean, it's all spikes, you know,
Spikes for days.
and that's the one that is, you know, directly influenced by the carving of Rezel and all that. So I mean, the weapons of sorrow as a general rule seem to be a prominent thing there too. Um, to me,
so the
that's why I'm
actual
not. That's why I wasn't hugely surprised with the whole that, and it's also a very primitive, effective way of holding someone down.
right.
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of the most basic idea of change. Change happens through conflict. And so I'm trying to think There's a series out there where it was Deadpool. I finally watched Deadpool.
I'm
Somebody
so
forced
proud
me
of you.
Um,
Maybe I'll
in
get to it someday.
right,
It's worth it.
I
It's worth it.
it is actually worth it. It was a lot of fun to watch. But in Deadpool, the way that they are mutated, they have to go through an immense amount of stress in order to
Oh, yeah,
engage
yeah.
the idea that they're going through a lot of pain and conflict is to help possibly initiate the change within them to be able to merge the two spirits, as well as if Hive have spirits,
Well, they do,
it's hard
because
to tell.
that's what they
The
pull
Ascendant
out.
realm.
Yeah, well,
Right.
I mean, but that's also what they pull and shove into each sibling, right? They say his spirit is angry and powerful, and they don't know
Mhm.
if her frame will be able to hold it.
Right. Let's see here. So that takes us to the unmaking, which the unmaking actually is the beginning. So we take a pause on that story as far as like the merging of the two siblings and go back to, I think, where Blue and Breezy are both really excited to talk about the Song of Life and the Song of Death. Does anybody want to give their own take on these two aspects?
Oh man, I'll let Breezy, because Breezy I think actually is really excited about this one.
Yeah, particularly the story, the record found within the world's grave of an unnamed planet with no record, as to keep it safe from the Hive invasion. They actually, how did this go? I only read this the other day, so I've only gone through it once, but I was enjoying it on break at work, and I was just sitting there giddy because of how cool it was that this planet was so well fortified. Their
Mhm.
orbital defense array, they actually just barely slipped through, and they just got a choir of some odd 20 death singers
Mm-hmm.
scattered about the planet. And this death song was a lullaby. It was pleasing from a distance, and then the world started catching on to what it was doing.
Mhm.
This song, this choir, it's more than a liturgy of ruin from one death singer like we experienced in Crota's End. A choir, which I never imagined they would do this. Oh no, they're combining death songs? Of course they are. Oryx's daughters did it. The Weaving the Unraveling,
Mhm.
their own songs of death and creation for Oryx's realm within his ship. They expanded that into an entire choir, and inside of about an hour, they sang the entire planet to death. And I'm like, that's so metal.
Right?
I'm
The
like,
thing
I'm like, dude, this is crazy cool the entire time. And the core goes haywire. The crust and mantle, they all boil, they shift, and they destroy an entire planet through song.
Mhm.
And
Which
again, I,
is
I want to see this kind of mechanic in the future in
oh
raids.
god. But we have seen this mechanic because you have the
30
Oracle.
seconds to kill
Well,
6 guardians.
right, you have the death song that we saw in Crota. You had also this basically the same death song show up in the Taken King raid, and we had the oracles. If you remember, the oracles had the chiming and everything. So the Vex have their own version of trying to interpret it. Now, granted, it's not the same thing, but you have the history of this death song, which
Well,
the
you have it
Hive.
in the Dreaming City too,
Right.
Yes.
The
because
the
it's
Song of Life, though.
oh gosh, the
Go
Song of
for it.
Life. Oh, mm-hmm.
So, the Song of Life was not always a corruption. It began as a gift stolen from the gardener. In efforts to understand the unknowable realities of the orb's incredible gifts, a signal was found of repeating tune, the Song of Creation. Its frequencies were heard across the stars wherever life's promise took hold. Some among the Ammonites worship it. Some among the hive did the same. Still others sought to understand it that they might cage it, that they might control it. For to control life is to control death. Such ambition was not new, such ambition was as old as understanding. The melody was captured and studied, the frequencies replicated. But the orb's mysterious mysteries were not so easily brought to light. The song, for all its beauty, did not alone grant life. It was theorized that the song was not a song at all, but many, that within its refrain untold rhythms spoke their own truths, free and clear of the whole. So you have the history of the Song of Creation, which Blue, you can bleep me out when you go through and edit this, is fucking amazing. I love it. I love this part because we get a reference to the gardener and the orb. We get kind of almost, maybe not necessarily conclusive evidence that the gardener is the traveler, but it's really hard to not think that with this lesson right here, this entry right here. And then we get the tie-in with the Ammonites, and the Ammonites knowing the Song of Creation as well, knowing that the hive chased the traveler across the cosmos and just ended up destroying the Ammonites. And so when the hive tried to replicate the song, we get what happens, what we hear as the Song of Death, because they're trying to recreate it and it gets manipulated and mangled, that it's not just the Song of Creation anymore. It gets turned into the death song, which is terrifying in many implications.
Yeah, and
because
it plays. Oh, go for it.
Go for it.
I was going to say it plays into the entire referencing of the Musica Universalis, or the universal music, which is what's called the music of the spheres. The Song of Creation is harmonious and beautiful, whereas the Song of Destruction is the exact opposite. It's discordant. It's I wouldn't go as far to say ugly, but where the Song of Creation is harmony, the Song of Destruction is disharmony or disharmonic.
Fun fact. A music history fact for people. The idea of purely harmonious music was a lot of the Baroque age and even earlier. They really tried to get to that absolute harmony type music, and so they would not use any sort of dissonance whatsoever. What we consider a lot of pop music has a lot of dissonance to what somebody back in that age would consider. So when the church music was saved by the church, just as far as written music and performed music, and it's kind of a weird evolution of Western music, but the church really pressed for this absolute harmony built into the music because they wanted it to be as closely related to God or paradise or creation as possible. So the church would sanction composers to create songs of absolute harmony, and they were not allowed. It was illegal to use any sort of dissonance. So you don't have the introduction of a lot of dissonance until much later in music history, because they slowly started to break away from the church in some respects and create more popular music, or what we would consider popular music.
Well, and it was also because as the civilization recovered from a lot of the problematic events, the spread of wealth and the spread of political power it radiated outwards, and so you didn't have patrons that were just ecclesiastical any longer. You also had existing nobility and diplomats and stuff like that, and they weren't always the same. They didn't always see eye to eye with the ways that things were stated.
Yep.
But yeah, that is a particular thing also that's really interesting as well, is the way that the information is retained throughout our own histories is very fascinating. I was gonna say, what was I?
Sorry, I sidetracked us.
No. Actually, I did not
have something I could say for my actual college.
I did not help myself because I was like, oh, that's so true. Because then all I can think of is how the Irish saved civilization. But, that's a whole nother fascinating story. But yeah, so yeah.
Song of Death.
Song of Death.
So by trying to recreate the Song of Creation and failing, they accidentally create a Song of Death.
See, this is where I kind of disagree. I don't think it was an accident.
You think they manipulated it
the
purposefully?
Stricken? I think the Stricken did. Because you have.
But in order to
they might have
understand
stumbled
life.
Well,
Type thing that was that whole lineup there.
Yeah, no, I mean, I guess you could say that maybe they found out that the power to create wasn't the only thing that the music could do. But it
Mm-hmm.
took me, like, the Stricken was, it sounded, or it seemed to me that her intent was not, because she's the one who assassinated the first composer
Right.
by singing her aria of death.
Conductor.
Or the first conductor, yeah, sorry.
Yeah. A little bit different.
Yeah, slight difference, and I feel terrible for that, but
He's okay.
forgive me, Green.
It's okay. Fun fact, an aria is typically a song sung in an opera. It is a solo piece. Many people who have ever gone through competitions as far as singing sing arias. Beyond that, which is fun because you bring in the idea of opera in The Hive, and we had the scene of Oryx and Regicide, which was very operatic. And the whole Taken King experience with the Nightfall, or not the Nightfall, but the King's Fall raid is very operatic.
Mm-hmm.
So my inner geek goes absolutely nuts when it comes to this aspect.
And my inner rock fan goes crazy with the
Right?
Siege Engine soundtrack and Wrath of the Machine
Right?
every single time.
Mm-hmm.
Not to mention that the fan remix of the Sepix Prime theme actually made it into the game for Sepix Perfected. I will never not love that.
I
'Cause
forgot
that
about
track's a
that.
banger.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had found it on YouTube like half a year prior to that DLC's launch. I'm like, hold the phone. As soon as I got to that boss encounter for the very first time, I heard the beginning of the intro where I immediately knew what it was. That's how much that song meant to me.
Nice. I feel that way about like the Whisper mission music.
Oh, Whisper's music is really good too, especially because they basically did an electronic track, and it's good wub-wubs, good wub-wubs, good times.
Mm-hmm. Absolute great wub wubs.
I would also like to double back on the talk of the stipulation that the gardener was the traveler for just a moment,
Mm-hmm.
and remind us that in the one of the Red War cutscenes, the console said traveler. Other civilizations have been more accurate in their naming. And I
Do
was
you
just thinking, realizing that, oh yeah, this has been a lot of places. This great orb has done a lot of terraforming. It turned Mercury into a garden world. And I'm just like, dude, I think they're kind of trying to rub that in our faces. I think this gardener probably would be the traveler. And I think that's a little bit of stipulation from a Cabal who has lived for quite a long time before Gaul killed him. And the other evidence presented in such a way like we have in our own experience of terraforming to a garden world. So I just wanted to get that out
Yeah,
before we moved on out of it. So yeah, I think that's very cool that they're adding
absolutely.
that, because I want to
Uh,
see what more civilizations from before, like we know the Elixni called it the Great Machine. I
the
want
hard
more Elixni lore so bad, but
oh
that's all
yeah.
I have on that.
The hard thing with that with the Elixni is that their civilization is not centralized so much. You don't have like great tomes of the Elixni now because they're kind of that pirate race. So you don't get to see it as much, I don't think.
And the whirlwind that dominated their culture and civilization from the once noble race they were.
Yep. But as far as continuing into the story of the Unmaking, which is a story that Breezy told about the destruction of the planet, that with the Ammonites and everything, that ugh, talk about a really painful. Could you imagine like just hearing a lullaby on the wind and just everything around you starting to die, just completely falling apart?
I can, but I don't like to.
But let's see here. We also get turned back towards the scene with the siblings doing the Russian doll imitation, and we see the final cut being made. Malkans makes the final cut, killing Azavanth, and then cuts down Akrazul, entrapping his soul and embedding it with Azavanth's now empty body, allowing the broken knight to become once again whole. Which is interesting because do they mention that her soul is still in there? Because they're saying empty body, like it's a shell.
No, she fades away.
Okay, so
There's a line for it. Hang on.
Pretty much died in mind and body, but the soul kind of endured in a part that wasn't conscious, so that she can't willfully know that she's contributing, but like the soul feels it, and you just know that because it's a feeling kind of
She
atmosphere
says,
is what I was getting out of it.
says Malkinth makes her final cut. Azavath's roar shreds her throat, and she falls silent, her body convulsing against the bolts, then becoming motionless. For an instant, Malkinth holds her sister's essence. She wishes to say farewell, but just as quickly, the wisp that was her sister sparks and blinks out. Malkinth recoils. So it was like she cradled it just for a breath, and then it was just gone. And then that's when her brother lunges to, just out of grief or pain. Just a side note. This is gonna not be delicately said. I have a Lannister vibe from these two.
Really? You think?
Yes, very much
Why?
so. No. Between Azavath and Aquazul, I get that they were a little bit closer than brother and sisters usually are.
Well, we don't. Well, there's no reason for us to believe that one way or the other because we have no. The only quote unquote relations that we know about with the hive have to do with the brood mothers.
Right, but throughout the whole thing,
maybe it's fine in their society. I don't
know.
know.
No. I mean, I'm not. Well, I mean, my own personal opinions on that nature aside,
Right.
I don't mean that to say that it's not normal in hive society. Right. But what I'm saying is, like, when you see the two of them refer to each other, there is a strong degree of more empathetic speech between the two of them. I'm trying to find it real quick.
The thing that I would point out, though, is if you think about the hive originating with Oryx, Zabathun, and Ziva-Wrath, that originated with those three who were siblings. And we don't know if they self-propagated in any way, shape, or form. If not, they had to have some sort of relations between the three siblings themselves, the three major siblings, which is terrifying to think about in a lot of ways. But that would mean that Zabathun's brood is also partially somebody else's brood, whether it's it would have to be Oryx's brood. Oryx would have to be the head of it if he's technically the only propagating male in the hive as far as originality.
Well, and that's also assuming that they're not, asexual.
Right.
But no, I mean, like, just in dinos, I mean, yes. I mean, I also can see it being defended as, yeah, you just watched your sister kill your other sister. You're going to be kind of pissed. I get that. I guess my whole thing was, like, I don't know. Like, I can't quite put my thumb on it, but that was just the feeling that it just kept getting throughout the whole thing there's something more going on between the two of them.
Inferences.
Yeah.
Inferences. Okay, so Faith and Bone is the next card. Is there something else we want to talk about with the unmaking before we move on to that?
Other than the fact that I really want to see what this hybrid looks like.
Yeah, you and everybody else.
It sounds freaking amazing.
What was this again?
Double fisting cleavers. Like, I mean, geez, I want to dual wield weapons like that.
Mind.
Oh my gosh, sounds so cool.
Kratos, but
bigger, that's exactly right. No, it's exactly actually what was in my mind was like a Kratos like figure. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Big bulky knight with shoulder pads that would put a Titan to shame.
Oh God.
A year 1 Titan. A D2
It-
year 1 Titan.
A 1980s Titan.
Totes. Yeah, I definitely want to try and illustrate what I think these things would look like.
I can
Yeah,
wizard,
and
according
Dino
to
Dino's actually saying this too. Remember that as far as the further creation of Hive, they were engaged in a literal crusade against the races of the Fundament. So there was a heavy degree in which they forcibly converted people. If I remember correctly, it was like 2% of the Fundament.
So you're saying that Oryx and his sisters are rapists?
That, or they're doing the xenomorph function. Yes,
I
I
wouldn't
am.
be surprised.
Yes.
Yeah, and again,
That
different
thing.
different
That would be correct.
civilizations and all that. Inbreeding is very much a thing in other races of the universe, I'm pretty sure. And other creatures on Earth, they do it. I get
just
it.
look at,
I don't think too hard about that kind of stuff.
Even within humanity, within the history of humanity, we have cases of that. I mean, most noble families, noble of cultures and of themselves,
lines and all that crap.
Egyptians were exactly that. So I mean, it's not. It wouldn't necessarily surprise me. I was just calling that out because I kept getting this weird
vibe. Yeah, that's funny too.
Could be. All right, so we're going to flash back towards the pit with Zalma.
Oh my gosh,
Zolmak.
this scene.
And Zolmak the Unwavering has stood now for a third time. He's just on high because he's just made it 3 times now, and soon the mighty who will remain will defer to his sword, his power. He is kind of climbed his way up through the ranks as far as his sword logic, his proving of himself. And then we have the sisters of the daughters of Crota, Hashladun and everybody there. I'm just going to read this card. Among the plotting throng, Hashladun and her sisters remain silent. They'd hope for one to prove their worth and stake their claim, but the long, violent road to Zulmek's rise has seeded doubt. The daughters hold little confidence in the pit's ability to provide a victor truly born of the sword logic. Zulmek has been impressive, but a king? Surely not. For whom has he faced? What competition had the swarm mustered? The aftermath of her father's murderer, and their grandfather's war had left them bereft of warriors of a caliber befitting royalty. The light has seen it so. The hated guardians came and inflicted their will upon the hive, on the moon, and across the system. Now all that remains are scraps of a broken legacy. To Hashladun's mind, the pit has proven a failure, regardless of Zulmak's triumph. Further, the daughters hold a secret belief that their forebears have yet to fail the logic's call. Crota and Oryx were both defeated, yes, but not for the first time. And the daughters still have faith in that the king of bone, the taker of will, and the one and true king of shapes would never fall as far as to be lost in eternity. If nothing else, the terror of their deeds, the memory of their conquest, lives on like nightmares that may be awakened for the weak, truly no fear. In that faith, the daughters have made plans of their own, schemes to rekindle the greatness of their lineage, strategies born beyond the pit. Thus, deep beneath the hellmouth, their heirs probe strange new possibilities from ancient discovery. Possibilities that will forge the pit to carve new paths and new understandings through which the logic may yet prove their grandfather's authority. However, those who would see their family unseated, those among whom they now stand, would mark their research as an affront. The logic is the logic, they would say. It is known and it is good. But they lack imagination. The logic is not simply brute force. It is cunning and guile. It is survival. It is victory born of all that makes a king mighty. In the pit, Zulmak unleashes a battle cry. He is ready to be done with it all. He is ready to claim his crown. Hashladun considers him with disgust. He will never be a king, only ever a tool, blunt and brutal. Should he be anointed as a champion of the pit, should he be crowned, the daughter's plots would be threatened before they ever truly begin. So, dun dun dun. He is mighty of arms, but maybe not as mighty in mind.
Mm-hmm.
And the daughters of Crota don't like him. If he gets in their way, they are going to try and take him out. And in many ways, do indeed do that moving forward. So, anything that we want to talk about with these guys?
I am intrigued because it's almost like, unbeknownst to either party, they're actually working to the same goal.
In some ways, one is still, I don't know, I think it's more of the daughters of Crota are wanting to, in some respects, to not necessarily prove the logic, but they have such faith that the plot and the plans of Oryx have not failed in some respects, that they've convinced themselves that the rising of a new head or a new king cannot be made in a pit like this because it's not truly a challenge. They have not proven themselves to have not only defeated their siblings like Oryx defeated Savathun and Zivo Arath, but also civilizations, the Ammonites and whatnot. Like, there's no way that he could live up to Oryx's name.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
Mm-hmm. So moving on from that to the anti-logic. This one, Blue, you had a lot of notes on this one, so I'm going to let you take lead on this one.
So the anti-logic, this is where, so like we had like the amazing scene with, I'll scroll down here. So basically this is where you just get like this amazing scene with the figure of the, what are we referring to? The
Champion of the pit.
Wiznite. What are they referring to the abomination at?
Kizzard?
The Kizzard. But
the Kizzard has a gizzard.
The Kizzard has a gizzard. But like we get this like just awesome scene of basically the figure that was Azavath rising up and just taking out the majority of the what's referred to as the congregation, which is basically the other high-ranking figures of the hive society, I guess you would call it. And so this basically, the abomination just rises into the heights of the Scarlet Keep. The corpse of Zolmak is now left in the ruins of what was the pit, the abomination having kind of just ripped him apart, literally ripped him apart. And, you know, and basically they're like, what's going on? Whoa, what's going on? And as they're kind of trying to figure out what's going on, he just starts taking them out and left and right. And this is where you see the Daughters of Crota actually start also taking advantage of the chaos and start assassinating those who were challenging their own, you know, their right to be leaders. And then all of a sudden, it seems like out of the blue, Malkinth calls back her sibling. I don't know if it's really a brother or sister at this point. But Malkinth is also wounded, so we don't really know where Malkinth was wounded. But Malkinth calls back the figure and basically lives up to her namesake of the deceptive or the deceiver and sings it to death, and casts the song and rips his, I don't know which one to refer to, Akrazul or Azavath, rips it apart and kills it.
Who's mentioned mostly.
Right. because it's in the body of a wizard, but it's got the
Mhm.
demeanor and the strength of a knight. And basically, Malkanth just unmakes the abomination that she made. We kind of get the feeling it was a little bit. It's not immediately right before, but and then the scene kind of ends with Hashladun looking down over the chaos, and kind of a nod to the recognition of an opportunity that has been presented before the daughters, because now, where Zulmak was actually kind of a threat to them, this attempted coup actually did them a favor and took Zulmak out. And then, with Malkanth also then taking out the abomination that was killing the congregation, well, that threat's ended as well. So that's kind of where it ends. So we don't really know what Malkanth was. We don't know why Malkanth was doing that final little betrayal from here.
It's interesting because the whole point of Malkanth doing this is this deceiver's plan is unfulfilled, but there is victory in stalled sword logic. So it goes back to the idea of not fulfilling the typical sword logic. It's really the idea of stalling out sword logic to me is really dumb. It's like they're just fighting against themselves. They're fighting against the typical basic knowledge that they've understood this whole time. And so by just stalling out this own plan, it's like, okay, that was kind of pointless. And you played into Hashladun's hand.
Well, there's that, and then so the Hive are not the only example of iron sharpening iron that we have. I mean, Rome was exactly this as well, and eventually it does always fall on itself. Like, it's always going to implode. But I don't know. I mean, this ending is the one thing that kind of I'm like, okay, but I want one more entry that explains what just happened here. Because, and that's what Chad is kind of talking about too, is like, Dino is saying, Malkanth, he thinks that Malkanth killed it because it's just too much rage. It's uncontrollable. Which, I mean, I can see that, especially, again, Malkanth is wounded. So especially if the abomination was the one that wounded her, then it's like, oh yeah, no, definitely this is like, oh, we didn't take this into we didn't take this into our calculations, and we need to reset, which is kind of unfortunate because there's only one set of siblings.
Failed song.
Yeah. I don't know. Like, that's just that was when I read this, that was what was standing out to me. It was like, okay, so was Malkanth in on the whole thing? Like, was this I don't think so. But I'm just curious what your guys' thoughts are on that particular piece.
Breezy?
Do you think Malkanth was in cahoots with Hashladun?
No, you postulate it. I don't know, maybe. I think if they were a conspirator of that level, was the thing an experiment orchestrated by Hashladun?
Right, that's what I mean. Is like, and the reason I hesitate on that is that there's this weird reaction with the daughters of Crota, and then there's also just this vehement disgust with the siblings towards the daughters of Crota and the congregation as a whole.
Right.
I don't think that's necessarily something that I mean, and I don't know, like, Malkanth is literally called the Deceiver. So
right. But here's where I'm kind of tracking a little bit more, is the fact that there was a legitimate plot to try to overthrow this and everything. The plot between the siblings Malkanth and the two A siblings, Wrath and uh, Akrazul, that was a legitimate thing, but because the experimentation of placing them and forging them into something new, into a new shape, because in some respects it was uncontrollable, the deceiver goes through and takes it out. I don't think it was necessarily in cahoots with Hashladun. I think it just didn't serve her purpose and that she got rid of it before it caused any more issues.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so you think it was just a bot? It was just
Botched
a
experiment.
wild card that didn't live up to what they were hoping.
Yeah, I mean
Yeah.
that's where I'm tracking with it. Whether or not that's actually intended, we can possibly wait to find out if they release more cards out of this book or this unknowing, this concept. But I don't think that it was an intentional deception from Malkanth. I think that if it was, I would think that Hashladun would be more
Excited.
involved in the book. Yeah, like just more involved in
I
the
see.
situation rather
Yeah, I see.
than removed and sitting upon high. Because you see her looking down from up on the tower the whole time, like as below, so above, or as you have that theme throughout this whole thing, and I don't think it's necessarily a major scheme. And to be fair, Hashladun was not difficult to defeat in the strike. Like as far as
Mm-hmm.
mechanics, she was not a wily or cunning or anything like that as far as us defeating her. Now, granted, if she has some sort of ascendant realm, we obviously haven't finished her off,
I
but
was about to bring that up, so
yeah. But we don't know if she has one of those or not, or even if she has that kind of tithing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I mean, given that most of them are death singers, I would be surprised if that's not the case.
Did Omnicole have an ascendant realm?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah.
Iriot was part of Crota's.
Mm-hmm. Which is why Iriut could technically still be alive somewhere.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised.
Anyway,
Tolan made it, and she killed him.
Tolan.
I love that guy, but ever since I came across him in the Dreaming City, when Riven was in charge of the plot, I'm just like, he comes back to the moon. I'm like, sorry, Tolan, I'm still not trusting you, but I will take all the knowledge you give me.
Mm-hmm. It's okay. He doesn't trust us either. He just wants to make it more amusing for himself when it finally comes to the end war.
Yeah, when you're dead, I imagine you're pretty bored.
Probably. Do we have any final thoughts on this before wrapping up the episode? Blue?
I do not. I just have questions.
Yeah,
As
same.
usual.
I will definitely be going over these more and more, and I'll be getting back into Fallen and Vex lore as well. I don't spend enough time reading this lore I've discovered, but this has been enriching for me. I will definitely be taking this and running with it.
Yeah. As far as my final thoughts on that, I am trying to remember Blue. I know you said Omnigul was ascendant, but I am trying my
That was
hardest to
the
remember how
explanation.
we would know that.
That's the explanation of all the strikes. She kept returning from death.
But is that an official explanation in game, or is that just the explanation that because like the
That's
Val
what the
to Arc
revamped.
is not.
But that
Val
was
to
the
Arc is
revamped.
not.
The revamped strike that we got with her.
Yeah, and Rise of Iron, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Where it's Cade and Ikora talking. They have undone her death, Ikora says, and then Cade goes, undone? You made it sound like they pulled apart her knitting.
Yeah.
Eris would tell you not to take this lightly. Well, that's why she's not here. Oh, I love that audio. I miss you, Cade.
Anyway, I don't have anything else. Blue?
That's it.
Breezy?
I think
Okay.
I'm good too.
Cool. Shoutouts. Second set of shout outs tonight, which I know is kind of a little weird since we record both the advanced episode and intro episode on the same evening. For those of you listening, a little bit behind the scenes there. But Breezy, do you have same shout outs or different shout outs from the intro episode? What are
I
your shout-outs?
have a shout out I wanted to credit in the last episode, but forgot to because I wasn't remembering the handle on Twitter. But this German lass who was doing some awesome art on sharing on Twitter has actually retweeted some of my art that I've tagged her in because we've commented back and forth about the art and stuff, encourage each other, all this cool stuff. Pain This Ice, PAINTHISICE on Twitter. She's a phenomenal artist. She recently put out an awesome Warlord Shaxx piece of art. It's really cool. She does great stuff. And she's one of my other art inspirations that has been urging me to go on. And she actually said when I put out a subclass concept art piece to quote, keep doing D1 art. Oh yeah, that's right, because it was a Sun Singer that I made. You can find that art on Twitter. So yeah, go follow
Nice.
her because she's a great artist and yeah, she's dope and she's German. German
Cool.
people are pretty dang cool in my experience.
Awesome. Blue, shout outs for you.
Just really keep the community keep being as excited as everyone. I know that they're kind of doing a lot of experimentation with the crucibles, Crucible Labs. With I think we kind of talked about that a little bit or quite a bit earlier, but also the charity thing that they're doing. They are gearing up. I think it's already started, if I remember that correctly.
You can start stuff on that as of yesterday, and I actually did sign up for that earlier this afternoon, so I'll be looking forward to doing that on Twitch.
Yeah. So I mean, and just again, big shout out to Bungie for being such a vocal supporter of that type of stuff. I really think that needs to be stated as something that's appreciated. But yeah, no, that's pretty much it for me.
Cool. I have a single shout out, and it is to podcast we listen to. Blue and I actually had the pleasure of recording with Jeremy last night.
That's right.
This would
I completely forgot.
Thursday, the 24th of October. Hello, future people, by the way. Yeah, we recorded with him. It was a really fun little interview episode where we talked about kind of not only the concept of diving into lore, but the concept of content creation in general, which Blue and I don't necessarily get to talk about too terribly often, or at least go behind the scenes a bit. So if you guys are wanting to catch our take on that and get some behind the scenes and a more relaxed Blue and Green, definitely go and give him a listen. He's going to let us know when he puts that episode out, and we will shoot it out on Twitter as well for you guys and in our Discord channel. And if not, just go give him a sub and just wait for it to pop up because it's gonna be it's a fun one. Blue.
All right. Well, that being said, we'll do the normal round of goodbye.
Bye.
Peace out.
Oh my God, this is a mistake.
Your life is a mistake.
Oh my gosh, yeah. I don't know how I managed to get out of that.
What'd you get out
of? This gambit round that I'm running.
Oh, nice.
So coordinator has a good question. Hey, so can anyone tell me why the Exo Stranger is on the inside cover of my Fallen Lore grimoire?
Yeah, because it's a fallen kingdom.
The Exo Stranger?
Yeah, she's from a fallen kingdom.
The volume 2 of the Destiny grimoire book.
Oh, right. I haven't gotten that yet.
Yeah.
I need to get on that.
Me too. It's okay. But yeah, she's there. Why is she there though, Blue? Like, I know you're saying that's a fallen kingdom.
When you come from a family of Brays.
Elsie Bray.
There's an invader and I can't hear.
There are Anon Pig would slap you right now.
I know.
He's fighting so stinking hard to say that it's not confirmed that Elsie is the stranger.
It's not confirmed. But it's really strong.
Very, very, very hinted at. So
it's
that's
implied,
my canon.
But It's important, but it's not confirmed, and it's hard to not. It's hard to remember that. I want Lakshmi to be important again. I don't even. I just listen to
I
her
miss
voice
Faction.
lines, right?
It's a error on Bungie's part. The faction rallies have been away for so long.
Well, the faction rallies were kind of a bust, and
I
in a
get
lot of
that.
ways.
So hopefully their fix for the factions comes out over the course of this year.
I don't know.
Oh,
We'll
he has
see.
architects. Your mistake.
Also SRL. We
Oh,
need
I know. I doubt we'll ever get SRL back, at least in the same form. Okay, so from you, Breezy, what I need, and this is something I would just have you type into chat. The only thing I need from you is a mailing address for us to send something to you as kind of a little thank you from us to
What?
you.
Okay.
We will get that out in the mail for you. And beyond that, Blue has got the audio recorded on his end, so you don't have to worry about that. And any of your contacts for like Twitter,
My shout out links.
yeah, exactly. Those kind of things.
I
That
was
would
thinking
be
about
super
that. So
appropriate for us to be able to put in show notes for us so our people can meet your people, especially with the
Hashtag.
Halo Collective.
Pew
I didn't realize
pew.
you were as
Choo
involved with that as
choo.
you are. Have you met Pins Halo? He's
He
already in
passed
bed, I
out.
think.
Yeah, he passed out. He's got class early in the morning.
Yeah, but Pins is he's kind of our resident Halo lore guy. He's our go-to for it. Whenever we do Halo lore, we just basically hand the reins to him and let him talk for 3.5 hours.
Oh, thanks, Ellen Kellen.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I'm out of ammo!
Actually, Halo Collective actually has a former writer for Halo follower.
Nice. That's awesome.
So yeah, he's a good deal of a lore buff, probably better with Halo than I am because I've been of Halo because Destiny is consumed for the most part the last 5 years of my gaming life.
For sure.
I do miss Mass Effects though.
Yeah, the Issacle, one of the friends of the show, she's a huge Mass Effect fan, and I made the mistake of asking a question about Mass Effect with her, and she pulled a Blue on me. So it was like, all right, this is weird coming from you. I'm used to it from Jay or Blue. I'm not used to it from you, Cole. And she just started rattling things off for about an hour, and it's like, okay, I need you to back up.
But
What is-
why?
It's fine, but yeah. Any of those links and the address and stuff like that, just the last little bits of stuff we need, and then the introduction episode goes out on Monday, and the advanced episode goes out on Friday with top 3 Wednesdays. So those will be upcoming. As far as like
Yay. I'm on.
housekeeping, I have. What are you guys talking about in?
Oh, they're arguing about the
it's
stranger.
about Elsie.
Well, it's just about like
what it is,
the
vicarious
validity
visions.
of the validity of what was confirmed and what wasn't confirmed.
I'm trying to remember, where was it confirmed through? It was through
An
an
IRL hidden Valkyrie spear that had a note.
right.
It was addressed to us.
Right.
Pretty much from the stranger to take care of Anna. And this other stuff talking about my family being the Brave family. And I'm reading this and I'm just like trying to hold back tears because I just love that tie-in to Mrs. I don't have time to explain I don't have time to explain from Destiny 1 and just how well crafted the story is. And I love this story and lore so much, even though apparently Staten's original story was even better before Activision mucked it up. I'm just like, if Destiny is as good as it is now, how freaking good was it in the original draft?
I mean, it's hard to say if it was going to be better because we have nothing to actually compare it to.
But I believe the insinuation that Joseph Staten crafted a masterful story.
Oh, I have no doubt about it. It's
But
just
yeah, it's just we'll never know. And yeah,
yep.
there's always that stipulation. But oh well. Doesn't matter now because I'm happy with what we ended up getting. I'm glad
Me
worked
too.
out as
I
well as it
like
has.
how they continue to improve. That is something I am really grateful about with these guys.
And even with new light, Halo Collective's current CEO was a D1 vanilla player who was sorely disappointed and lack of well done story and all that jazz. He ditched it and never looked back until a few weeks ago he started getting into it. And it's
Nice.
beautiful. I'm like, holy crap, this must be the apocalypse.
Eh,
Tyler is playing Destiny again, and the other guy in our group chat who swore it off after some point of year one
mm-hmm.
is actually just started playing it, I think, yesterday morning.
Nice. Nice and nice. Okay. I have to work in the morning.
You gotta work. All right.
Yes.
Well, stream. We will talk to you guys later. You guys have a great night. And
Bye, stream.
bye.